Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the August 24th Georgetown School Committee meeting. If we could all please rise to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you everybody for coming. It's good to see people. We don't always see as many people, find great people in our audience. So how am I going to begin this? We did take the tour of schools at 6 p.m., but we'll wait until Barbie and Carol get back so we can all report on that together. Michael and I we saw very good things, didn't we?
We did.
Yes. All right, so we'll begin with the consent agenda, the approval of minutes. Have I missed anything?
No, you're great.
Okay. The approval of minutes, regular session minutes of 7/26/17, special session minutes of 8/7/14. And Michael, were we not going to
I had a
vote on
question
the
about
others?
whether or not we can vote to approve minutes for which we were not in attendance.
Do you know what that rule is? Like if you were not there for the meeting,
Right.
can you vote on
I wouldn't think
approving
that you
of
could
So yeah, why don't we table the
approve them.
executive session?
I really don't.
Right, but we can do the regular session,
But we can do the
provided that we
regular-
were there.
We can do the special session minutes of 8/17. Or we can't, because
Laura, what is 8/7/14?
you two may not have
Is that
been
8/7/17?
there.
I'm sorry, it should be 17,
Yeah.
that was when you guys met.
That was the athletics donation?
Yes,
So 8/7/17?
Yes.
Okay,
All right. So, I'm going to
and I was not at that one.
Then we can't vote for that one if I'm challenging.
make
it,
a
we can vote for any
motion
of
to
those.
approve the regular, let me try this again. We're gonna make a motion to approve the regular session minutes of 7/26/17,
And stop
and
there.
that's it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Okay, now we're going to vote to approve the acceptance of warrants 07V18, 09V18, 2P18, 4P18, 6P18, 8P18.
So moved.
Make a motion.
High school.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Alrighty. And, hi Barbie. Hi.
Playing in the makerspace.
Oh, you were playing in the makerspace, was nice.
We got a little sidetracked.
Great, well, I can see where you'd have fun
Yes, it
doing that.
was.
So Carol, we have a question.
I might have an answer.
So if we were not here for a certain session, we cannot vote to approve those minutes, correct?
Well, most of the time people do abstain, if they can't speak to it, but I know that hasn't always been the case for the committee. I don't think there's a rule you can't do it, but most of the time I find that people don't at other meetings I've been to.
We have one of the minutes, is it one? Two of the minutes.
Yep.
Only Barbie and Pam. So we don't have a quorum of the people from those meetings still on the committee, which is weird.
That's kind of weird, yeah. So here, you know
And,
what?
and they're not detailed minutes, like there's
So
no.
we'll ask that question. We'll ask that question.
I mean, on the other hand, if you don't vote to approve them,
when
don't
we
you
don't
have
approve
to?
them, No.
Well, I mean, let us find out for you. So I'm
Yeah,
I'm
we'll
gonna
table it
ask.
for-
Post
I'm going-
minutes on an
so
open
I-
meeting?
So I just wanna make sure I know what I'm gonna ask. So I'm gonna ask if when we approve the minutes, if a quorum of the members of the committee were not present at the meeting, A, do they have to abstain? And B, what happens if we don't have a quorum or you don't have enough people to vote?
Correct.
Is that the correct thing? Okay. We can look into that.
Okay.
Lost my pencil.
I will.
I thought you guys started.
She did. They
Barbie,
did.
we did, we're on, yes, we're on public comment.
We're just still on the top.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. All right. right, did you do the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes.
We did.
I wanna do the moment of silence?
Yes, we didn't
It
do
was all,
that.
it was her idea.
Did the moment of silence, or you did?
Did you already do the moment of silence?
No, we're waiting for you
No.
for that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, everybody. Okay, so you're at,
We're at the
Public comment?
public comment, yes.
okay, and nobody has
Oh, no, wait a
any-
minute, the Baker Adams thank you letter.
That's just.
Yeah.
There's
That's
one in
just-
there, there's no.
But you
Yes.
did all these? You did
I did,
approval?
yes, but I did
Okay.
not do
Oh, that's
Baker
okay.
Adams thank you letter.
We tabled the
Ex-
executive
yeah,
session.
executive
What we were
sessions.
just talking about.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get some information for you.
Because
You what?
we were not sure that if we did not attend some of the meetings, that we can't vote on them. Do you know about that? Can we vote on them, Barbie?
So you're talking about these executive
Right.
session, right, because they're so old, there are members that aren't even
Correct.
on the.
So we're not
Yeah.
sure if we can vote on that because we didn't attend them, so,
So
I'm
Carol and
gonna-
Laura are gonna
We can find out,
for you, yeah.
yep.
So
and that was
some-
the same for, the special session. I don't know how many were there for that one.
Oh, now we can vote on that.
Now we
one,
can vote on
now
that
we
because
have a
you guys
quorum
were
of
all there,
those.
so
Yeah.
we can go back to that and vote on that one.
Okay, so we'll find that out for everybody.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, so thank you
Sure.
for doing that.
Sure.
So before we begin our regular business this evening, I do just wanna take a moment to enter into a moment of silence to honor the legacy of Massachusetts Education Commissioner Mitchell Chester, who passed away in June with the battle of cancer. Okay, thank you. Okay.
They are having a public memorial for him on Monday afternoon at Harvard University at, I believe it's at 4:00.
Oh, nice.
So that should be well attended.
And they're still searching for.
They're still searching for a new commissioner.
Trying to do it for the end of the year.
Before?
By the end of the year.
By the end of the year.
Yeah, the gentleman, Jeff Wilson, who's in it now, is not interested in pursuing it, does not want the position, so they are doing a full nationwide. Mitchell Chester was actually the longest serving
Yeah, I saw
education
that.
commissioner in the country.
Amazing. Well, I'm glad that we were able to have that moment of silence for him because he did do such a great job with the educational system here in Massachusetts, so we appreciate all that he's done. Okay, we did public comment. So we have, senior celebration fundraiser approval, or just to talk to you guys about what's coming up. Do you wanna come on up?
Sure.
Suzanne, are you gonna go over on that side? So you're on the committee, so I saw you. You have a lot of people, which is great.
Yeah,
Because you'll need it.
It's been a nice turnout so far. I'm Helena McGuire and this is Teresa Frost.
Nice to see you guys.
And we're representing part of the 2018 Senior Celebration Committee. And we started the planning stages and we're trying to obviously organize and sponsor a pretty safe, substance-free event for all the graduating seniors a few days right before graduation. So in doing that, we're obviously asking for school committee approval, blanket approval right now because we don't have all the fundraising events sketched out. But obviously, as we have more specifics, we would then seek specific approval from Mr. Lucia on the actual activities as we move forward. Tentatively, right now, we have looked at, the first one is flatbreads, potentially a fundraiser night, a typical night, and then a yoga night. We've been coordinating that. And then Pomodoris and some other newer events too that we're hoping to pursue. So, that's what we're doing here tonight.
That's great, and you're gonna do the hypnotist again,
Yep.
which is always fun.
Yep.
I think we realized that we don't even really have to approve anything for you, but we appreciate you coming to let us know what your plans are, because it's always good for us to know what's going on. And it is such a huge commitment for all of you guys too, so we really appreciate it, having gone through it just this past year with my son.
Yeah.
I wasn't even part of the committee, but they were great with the communication process and, the money that you had to pay for that end of the year, things like that, so I'm sure they left you a great book.
They did,
Right,
in a
that's
nice
awesome.
big Rubbermaid tub, so.
Here you go. Yeah,
Exactly.
it's good.
So much
That's
for to the kids. I mean, they
Yeah.
really, have to get lifetime memories
Yeah.
of fun and camaraderie, and it's just a really
Yeah.
wonderful thing. So now I've had one son who went on the Whitewater River rafting, and another who went to Boston, and both claimed that theirs was the best.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
obviously both had an incredible time.
Yeah, and so far, the seniors who do know we're in the planning stages are all curious what we're planning. We are trying to keep it somewhat mysterious, but
I
Good for you.
that's,
Yeah.
Good for
That's
you.
good.
so.
So when you're talking on the phone and things like that, make sure your kids aren't around.
So go in the other room.
So they won't have as much involvement, or I mean, is it up to the parents what they do, or
Yeah.
do the kids?
This is really supposed to be a parent-sponsored, fully volunteer, and the goal is to try to keep as much of a surprise as
Gotcha.
possible. But we
As
all
long,
know.
as much as long as.
Right, we all know the way social media works, that it won't be
Yeah.
too long, but.
Right, but we do appreciate the time that all of you guys are gonna spend, but I think you'll enjoy it, even though it's gonna take
Yeah.
a lot of time, that's great.
Yeah.
Good.
Great, thank you very much.
That was it. Thank you.
so much.
Thank you, enjoy the rest of the summer.
Thank you.
Good luck with that, Suzanne. Make sure no meetings run Thursday nights.
Unless they're before.
Every other.
Yes.
It'll be on the other Thursdays.
The kids really appreciate
No, I know,
everything.
they do.
Did Anthony partake in them?
He did,
And
Yeah,
he
he loved
enjoyed them
it.
all, and
Yeah,
it
no,
was
he
a
had a great
surprise.
time.
and-
Almost
I
all
think
of
the
them do.
surprise ended, it's a surprise until maybe a month or two ahead, I think.
And then they
But
get
they had a great time, yeah.
Oh, yeah, they absolutely
he
did.
Had an awesome
Yeah,
time. Okay, so we're gonna move along and we're going to be introduced to our new food service director.
Yes, come on up,
Sean.
Sean.
Sean Riley, if you'd like to come on up.
So I think, I just want
How
to
are
make sure.
you?
I'm great. How's
Nice
everybody
to
doing?
see you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Sean, I did stick Sean's resume in your packet. He's been hitting the ground running, I guess we can say, right, Sean?
Been busy.
You've been busy. So maybe if you wanna just talk a little bit about what you have been doing, so the committee will know.
Yeah. So I've been in the office for a little over a week now, and we've been working at Henbrook and the middle high school with Sue and Ruth, getting them, up to speed on getting everybody back and all the renovations that have been done, especially. So we're busy with all of that, getting the ordering done, and making sure that we have everything we need to get the school year started right. Carol, Suzanne, and especially Mike, have been putting in the hours and making sure that it's been a pretty smooth transition. Still learning everything every day. So there's a lot that I'm gonna have to adjust to and a lot that I'm gonna learn, but I'm looking forward to every minute of it. So,
So we already had Sean go to a workshop or a training,
3-day
right?
workshop,
Went to a
yeah.
3-day workshop, so he came in for one day and then out he went for 3
Yeah.
days. And then, but that was nice because he got to chance to go with,
with Ruth
With
and Sue,
Ruth
so
and
we can
Sue.
spend 3 days together.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So what was the purpose of the workshop?
It was just a refresher course on nutritional guidelines and things of that nature, and one-on-one peer counseling, things like that, done by the Stalker Institute in Framingham State.
And is the nutritional guidelines, are they, significantly changed from the past year or so, or?
They're actually loosening up a little bit,
Right.
so that's good. Nothing significant. You can put in requests for if you want to serve a non-whole wheat item. You can put in requests for things like that. But we also talked about the nutritional guidelines that are printed on foods and on packaging, how they're going to change and be more specific with added sugar opposed to just full of sugar and things like
Wow,
that,
I
which are
think they're
great.
pretty specific now, don't you?
It's going to help us tremendously when they really drill down on that. So.
That's good. The ideas that are coming up for the food service week is really exciting. I hope that they all find it to be exciting,
They
too.
are. It's a little daunting for them, I think.
Yeah.
They've been back for a day and a half cleaning, going over it, and there's a lot of concern, but it's good concern. Nobody's running yet, so the retention is still 100%. That's a good thing. So, the changes are good. It's going to keep people, energized and on their toes, and it's great for the students.
yeah, the students that have been coming in, the faculty that have been coming in and seeing the changes have been really excited.
Yeah.
So, in fact, when the seventh grade had their orientation, and I went over, you know, all the adults are sitting at the high top
Yeah.
tables, right? And the kids were sitting on the stools, and they were doing paperwork, so it was nice. I think it's gonna be very well received.
The coffee shop is gonna be very, very well received, yeah.
And that's gonna be ready to go on Tuesday?
Mhm.
Great.
Local bagels?
Local bagels from the
ba-
bagel.
Oh, the,
Best bagel?
Best bagel?
Yeah,
That's great, so
Yeah.
you're doing business with them, that's awesome.
trying to keep as
Their
much in town
bagels
as
are
we
great.
can, yeah.
And they did donate the bagels and the cream cheese, and I believe the coffee for our first day back,
Monday?
for our new teacher orientation, the first day of our new
Oh,
teacher.
that you
That's
just
awesome.
had
Yep,
yesterday?
yep, and
Oh, nice.
Laura worked that out and ran around, but they donated all of it, so,
Oh.
you know, we thank them very much for that, and they're giving us an arrangement
Yeah.
for the bagels. So it's nice to have, partnerships in town that,
Yeah.
wanna see us succeed.
Did we get a pizza partnership?
We are continuing the Domino's partnership, yes.
Okay.
So I think the plan was to have the stations that we talked about. We all talked about, a little bit about that when we gave you the action plan.
Mhm.
But maybe you wanna talk just a little bit about that, Sean?
Yeah, we're introducing an international station, which is gonna be a rotation. Not sure of the frequency yet, but we're gonna have that one dedicated station where it's gonna change, where we're gonna have Mexican for, say, a week, and then we'll switch over to Chinese. And then we're open to suggestions. So I plan on working closely with the students, trying to get as much out of them for what they actually wanna eat as possible. I know it's difficult, and I think the best way to do it is one-on-ones, work in the dining room, talking to them and seeing what they like and what they don't. Surveys are great, but I think face-to-face is best. So.
Cause then you can
that's a thing.
tell if they're like,
If they're-
what they
yeah.
really mean,
Right.
right, on a piece of paper.
whole wheat pasta.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's something that is definitely on my agenda, is to make sure that I'm visible, highly visible, and I'm out and about. So hopefully we'll get some good feedback from that, and then we'll adjust our menus. It's gonna be an ongoing adjustment, so.
So the first couple of weeks, though, you're gonna have like a hot station, right?
First day, we're having a burger bar and a nacho bar. So the nacho bar is gonna be in the international station.
And a grab and
And the
go,
grab and go
which
is
is
gonna be
new
available
this
as
year.
well.
So, and then, of course, the.
So I don't know what's new and what's
The,
not.
of course,
Yeah,
of course, the paninis, the
Yeah.
paninis
Our
are
deli,
new.
yes,
Deli,
we are opening
deli's
a
not new,
deli,
but the
so.
paninis and the homemade soup will be new.
So Carol, would there be a point or a time, maybe the end of next week, that we could go in if we want to see how it's
Oh, sure,
all
of course,
flowing?
of course, just let us know, we're happy
I don't know
to.
if anyone's
Oh, yeah.
interested
Like
in
the-
seeing
like the
it.
flow of it through
I
the
would
day?
like to see, yeah, sort of in an actual operation.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I'll
you
go on
gotta,
Chinese Day.
I think you gotta, I think you gotta let them
Gluten-free,
get it,
please.
they gotta work the system, but we'll make sure we have a time.
I mean, Michael and I
Might have to give us a couple
Yeah.
weeks though, just to,
Or
we'll work with you, cause you'd have to take a day off.
Right.
Right, so we'll work it out in advance, but I think that since it's a new flow and it's a new setup, I just wanna let them get things,
Sure,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
up and running,
Yeah.
but then we'll definitely have you in.
We'll go the first day of school, and the
Yeah,
kids will be
no.
running into each other.
Yeah,
Now, you
We're
know,
not
what,
welcome.
I'm always interested in how all this is communicated on the website and what kind of information, what do the menus look like? I mean, I have to admit, I haven't, jumped
Checked
on
them out,
and
yeah.
checked them out myself,
Mhm.
but are there new menus and new?
It's the same exact template that you've been seeing, but the menu items are gonna be changing constantly. We'll put up the monthly menu, but there's gonna be things next month that you've never seen before, I'm sure of it. I wanna give my chef managers more onus of their menu, what they're serving. I want them to cook foods that they wanna cook. I'm not sure if that was happening before or not, but that's something that I believe in. I wanna empower my staff to make the right decisions, to use the knowledge that they gain every day, to make sure they're doing the right thing. With the communication is gonna be the same with the Facebook and the 2 Facebook sites, and then on the menu itself.
And so is the menu itself up there already or not? It is.
It is.
Okay.
And there was a Facebook message about an error.
Or, yeah.
that was
Half
fixed.
day in a row.
And I think we corrected that tonight,
Yeah,
Barry.
this afternoon.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, that is good. The,
Exciting.
Mike, allowed me to go into the kitchen last week, at the cafe, and it looked great, and the Pembroke,
Gorgeous.
looks great.
Kitchen is
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, but the work that Mike's, staff did to, with the bathroom and then move the, what is it in that bathroom?
Dishwasher?
Like the
Dish machine.
dishwasher,
Yeah.
that looks great.
Yeah.
So I'm
Busy-
very impressed
busy
with the
time.
middle high school cafeteria and how it looks, and I'm sure they were very happy to come back and see it look so good.
We're
Good. I'm excited.
Yeah, so we'll
Well,
definitely
welcome.
be in touch.
Thank
Happy
you
to
very
have
much.
you.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, we're happy to have him. So he's done a great job already, and, you know, I couldn't ask for him to, anybody to be get more involved more quickly, so it's all good. And, you know, I mean, I think if you read Sean's resume, you know, we've been talking, as you know, about the whole outsourcing, what were we looking for in the next manager, and it was fortuitous that Sean's background has been working in outsourced companies, and his interest is sort of taking a deviation from that and,
Right.
and coming to something that, a more of an in-house program where he can, you know, he can do his thing, but it's not so bureaucratic perhaps. It's a little bit more family-friendly, and I think you can
Yeah,
make a real
absolutely.
difference,
Yes.
you know, so it was just a perfect match, so
It really was.
we're really happy.
Sounds like
Thank you.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Well,
Excellent.
Well,
Thank
we'll
you
be
for coming
seeing
tonight,
all
Sean.
of
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
I told him he didn't have to stay for the whole meeting. I gave him a break the first, stay for as long as you want, but you don't have to stay all the time.
And we have some, good choice. Okay, we have staffing updates, so I see a lot of the empty, well, there weren't that many empty, but it looks like it's all filled in, which is great.
Well, we're still looking for a long-term English sub.
Almost had one today.
Almost had one
I
today.
think for an hour or two we'd had one.
Yeah, we
And
did.
what happened? What would have made that
She
person?
got a full-time job.
The long-term subs,
It's tough.
and you can't blame them either because,
You can't blame
you
them.
know, you get this time of the year, we're not the only school district in this boat, and some people have full-time jobs to offer them, and so they take them.
I do think that one of the
Understandable.
things that we wanna talk about in budget and finance is the pay for subs, because, you know, I think the daily rate when we last surveyed was in the ballpark, but when you get people who are certified teachers, and they take a job, and for the first 10 days, they have to work for 75 days, and then the second 10 days, they have to work for $80, and then the best they can do is bachelor step 1, you know, that's not a great incentive for people, that are teachers. So I think we should just talk about it. I mean, I'm okay if you don't have a certificate, and you haven't had any teaching experience, to maybe something like, you know, a $90 a day or something like that, right? But when you have a certified teacher that, you know, has an education degree, I feel like there should be some kind of differentiation for that. So maybe we can put that on an agenda and talk about that. Because I do think, like today, when I was over there at the high school for something else, Peter and the department head were talking to this woman, and he said, hey, do you wanna talk to her now? That we can kinda get her signed, sealed, and then he emailed me tonight and said, well, you know, we almost had her. But you can't, like you said, you can't blame people for, you know, getting a full-time job.
So what will be the game plan if that isn't able to be filled by Tuesday?
Well, we don't need her by Tuesday. The teacher's not going out for 2 weeks. We wanted some transition time, but, you know, we're back at looking at more candidates.
And at more
tomorrow.
candidates, yeah.
Unless the child decides to come earlier than 2 weeks.
That can't happen.
Not allowed.
We don't allow that.
Okay, well, that's good. And then tell me about the head custodian, that opening.
Michael can talk to you about that.
Sure, so we had a guy in the beginning of the summer at the high school, slipped, fell, and, did something to his shoulder. He's been out most of the summer, and, it doesn't look like, I spoke to him today, doesn't look like he'll be back before Christmas, so we need sort of an acting head custodian. So we're gonna move some of the guys around and then get a long-term sub for the night position.
Do you think that'll be difficult to fill?
Actually, Jacob at the Pembroke School has expressed interest, and I think that's who we're gonna move over.
Mhm.
Great. Well, that's too bad. I hope
He's
he,
been here
yeah.
about 6 years as a,
Custodian.
night custodian.
Well, I hope the other custodian's okay.
And the night guys at the high school all have childcare issues or whatever, so they wanna work nights.
Understandable. Well, that's good.
Can I ask the BCBA, I know in terms of the budget, we were half-time contract and we were looking to go full-time or fuller time in-house. And we were ultimately gonna save some money, I don't remember what it was. I see this is back to a contractor, 'cause I know we were having trouble getting someone, is that
So I think that we were what we had put in the budget was 0.5. We
Okay.
had 1.0 in last year's budget, but we didn't end up needing it, so we
Okay.
contracted for 0.5.
Okay.
So when we built the budget for this year, we built it at 0.5.
Okay.
So
But it
we
was-
tried to find a 0.5
Right. Yeah, no, I know that.
BCBA and
Yeah.
no luck. So, Jack, do you wanna say anything about that, like why we went with a contract?
On the BCBA?
Yeah,
Simply, yeah, we had very few applicants for a part-time position, and it will actually run us, it'll be cheaper in the long run to contract this year based upon what we have for services that have to be provided.
we did actually get a little inquiry from, after we'd already sort of made the contract, with, the superintendent from, at the elementary schools in Tri-Town, that they have a 0.4, and they were wondering if anybody needed a BCBA. So we, Jack contacted him, and, maybe in the future, we would look at that. We were looking for a high school, somebody with high school experience preferably, and that's obviously an elementary district.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
who knows in the future, so, but that's why you have to do it. You have to find somebody who wants to partner, but then it's about when is everybody available,
half-half.
right? Yeah, yeah. You can't always get the hours you want when you are sharing with someone else, so. But that's something we'd like to think about in the future if our needs change.
You got someone for Rudy?
We got somebody for Rudy. We actually, the two secretaries in the office there are very excited to be here. The woman for Rudy, Peter, you could speak to this. The woman for Rudy had extensive experience as a school secretary in Nashua, New Hampshire, and then the other assistant is moving into this field, the clerk typist. So both of them are very pleasant, very excited to be there, jumped right into it. I think they're gonna do great. I really feel good about the fact that the staff that we got is, that's tough for Peter, right? So now it's all, but he's still got Sandra and he's still got Cheryl, and they're huge assets. So I think very team oriented over there, everybody seems to be excited about working together, so I think it's gonna be fine. Would you agree with that, Peter?
I would.
No, that's good.
Peter was very
That's good.
nervous, understandably so.
I
So
was
think-
nervous
So I
because
think
that
we all
is a
feel
big
better now.
deal.
Yeah, I think we feel
And
better
I
now.
would like to say and thank both Katie and
And
Rudy
Rudy.
for coming in and helping train
Mhm.
these people, so they're very gracious to do that.
Poor
Yes,
Katie, we've
yeah.
talked to her about retiring 3 times now. We always say goodbye to her, and then she's back next week because we needed her to do more transition, but, yeah, they've been very generous with their time. I agree, Peter.
Oh, that's great. We're gonna miss seeing them when we walk
We
in
will
the
miss
building,
them.
but
really will.
We will.
we understand that
I'm sure it'll be,
things happen.
Yes, they
good to
do.
know the new folks, but we're gonna miss Rudy and Katie
Yes.
a lot.
Yeah, we just
Okay.
had our new staff orientation for the last 2 days. Colin and Amanda Gerard did a great job with that, and today, they had Alice training. And we
Oh.
invited all new staff to the Alice training. So, we had about 26 people there, I think, and Derek Jones and Henry Olszewski did the training and did a great job again, so. I'm happy that we could do that thanks to the chief for helping us organize that, we could do it before the school year started. And we actually caught up with the people who we hired during the year last year that were hired after the Alice training was done, so that was I think that was fortuitous, and we're talking about, how we're gonna train the students, because we will have new students to the school, and we will have 7th graders that are coming in. That's the next assessment.
Was talking about Henry, is his role being a year in, kind of a year of live experience, is that changing at all, or for lack of a better word, his job as the SRO, is that?
No, I think our intention is to continue, when we met last, everybody talked about, were the expectations met? Henry's been a great asset, to us. I think the administrators, and I have, no concerns about that. The chief has been true to his word in terms of you know, making the officer available to us. You know, in the past, it's been a little hard sometimes because, you know, he would need them or he'd be pulling for this, that, and the other thing, but, you know, Henry's been, you know, he's in the, like today, he told the people in the Alice training that one of the reasons why he's in the lunchroom is because based on at the high school is because based on the history of what they've learned from school shootings, that's a very vulnerable time. So, you know, I mean, I think they're trying very hard to make sure that, you know, things are covered. We use Henry all the time, helping with investigations of bullying cases or following up with families, and if we're doing some residency investigations, Henry's very helpful, helping us check on some things, so, you know, and then of course he's there for the kids, so, yeah. I don't anticipate a lot of changes to his position for next year.
Well, that's good, because I know the kids, seem to have a great rapport with him, and it's nice seeing him at both of the different schools, you know, when you go there, it's
I think
good
remember
feeling.
when he came to talk to you, he said he wasn't cool at the high school, I think that's changed, I think people see him as cool now.
How is the road looking?
Okay, so do you wanna go to the next section, which was gonna be the updates, school updates, do you wanna talk about that?
Sure.
Okay, sure, so here's the road, here's the issue on the road.
First time I drove down it today,
So
Is it paved?
it's actually looking,
it's pretty good.
it's
Some of
actually
it is.
looking very
Some of
good
it is.
compared to what we thought it might be. Mike, Peter Durkee, the chief, Margaret, and I have a meeting on Monday. And the chief thought it would be best to sort of wait until the 7th hour, you know, just to be sure that we knew exactly what was gonna be done. My expectation, based on what I've been told, is that the road will be paved. It will not have the final paving coat. I don't know, what do you call that first coat, Mike?
The binder.
Thank you, the binder.
Brook
So
Street will still be dirt.
Brook Street will still be dirt, but the main
All
roads.
of them should have its
Is
binder
Brooks,
coats.
is Brooks gonna be both ways,
Yeah.
or is it gonna go back to a one-way
Uh,
again?
I've heard it's gonna be both ways.
Really?
not
Oh, I
on
would
so
love that.
that's what I-
I think
Because
that was
would
the
alleviate
discussion.
some traffic, I
It would.
believe,
It
if it's
would.
both ways.
Yeah, so I'll ask that question and I'll get that answer for you, but that's what, so we're understanding. So the binder coat would be down. The curbs for the sidewalks are in.
Yeah.
The sidewalks will not be done. That is my expectation. What I'm hoping they'll do is not leave those piles there. So even if it's dirt, it's not optimal, but, you know, dirt is better than no place for the kids to walk.
Right.
So we'll know on Monday a little bit more about when, you know, everything will be done. I think they're anticipating no later than October for everything, you know, but the main road, I think they've been able to work around us. They said they'd try to get it at least paved for the start of school. So they have been working really hard to, you know, and remember, we had summer camps and things, so they've been working around us too. And I think we've been, you know, extremely generous in terms of just, you know, making accommodations, tell us where you want us all to come in. And everybody was great with that. So I don't think it held them up. In fact, I think I heard that they were ahead of schedule.
Did you have any negative feedback from the people that had to utilize the road in the summer?
I
at the
didn't
camps?
personally. Did you hear anything, Mike? Or is
I mean,
Margaret here?
Some days that there was a little confusion.
Margaret, you're here,
because
right? Did you hear
They would
anything?
say use Brook Street, but they'd be working on both ends anyway, so it didn't really matter. But
Yeah.
I think that was the challenge, is knowing where to get in.
Yeah.
Like, I know one day, I spent 15 minutes going to both places and never even thought of Brook Street, right? So finally, when I got to the officer, he said, no, Carol, go Brook Street. Well, then I got right in,
Yeah.
but I didn't necessarily know that, so I think that
Yeah,
was,
we had some challenging days where we used the access road.
Yeah.
You had to put a guy on each end with walkie-talkies, because it's only one.
so one way.
Do you feel comfortable with the kids having to walk?
Well,
on
I'm
the
gonna
road
know
without
more
a
on,
sidewalk?
I'm gonna know more on Monday.
East Maine last year, they were doing sidewalks. It was a
Yeah,
similar.
last year it
It'll
was.
be a
It's
dirt
nice.
sidewalk.
It'll be a dirt sidewalk. It won't be that they have to walk in the
Tamped
road.
down.
It'll be walking on the road,
Yeah.
it'll be,
Yeah.
it should be
Flat.
packed, but not
Flat,
paved.
packed, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so I feel comfortable with that. I feel more comfortable with that now with the curb cuts there. Right, I would have felt less comfortable, you know, if there wasn't that delineation and differentiation. Those curbs, you know, are pretty significant.
So
So,
between now and Tuesday, they've gotta pack that, cause
Yeah.
it's
It's, yeah.
Mounds.
So like I said, we're following that closely, and then what we'll do is I'll send some kind of a Connect Ed message out that basically, tells people exactly, where that is, but.
Now working weekends to try to get stuff done.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, they really are trying to work with us on, that was a big job for them, I mean, there was a lot to that job. So the fact that we were all able to get in and out, it was a little inconvenient, but, in and out, run our programs, and.
I wonder how the residents of Elm Street have been dealing with it.
I don't know.
I will say it was a rough.
looks good.
Yeah, it was a rough time in town with the Groveland pavement on that side and Elm Street on that side. It was
Oh, yeah, yeah.
a bit of a mess for them.
Yeah, Margaret, did you hear a lot from parents? I don't know if you heard.
I didn't hear from parents, but I did, applicants and, people that were coming to the school for a visit had difficulty.
Yeah,
But, parents seem to be fine.
well, I think there was information that they were getting information via email, this is how you get in, use this, so I don't think anybody was caught off guard. They weren't riding around trying to wonder how to get to the school, so I do think that there was good communication around that. It's just like Margaret's saying, there are other people who come to the school that wouldn't know.
Yeah, that wouldn't get the
They
updates.
wouldn't get the updates.
Right,
We're
exactly.
emailing the campers every day to try to say.
That's
spread
good.
that word.
Anytime there's construction to that magnitude, it's a inconvenience, but you just have to realize it's for the betterment.
It's
I'm
been a
sure
long
gonna-
time in coming.
It has been a long time.
And I'd rather have it happen in the summer, quite honestly, than, can you imagine if we had to start school another year with a major construction project that was digging up the road? Yeah, I think the summer is the best time to do it.
Well, that's good.
So we're good on, that's where we are on that.
Okay.
All right. So you know about staffing, so that's fine. So I'll talk to you a little bit about buses, since that, I know there was some discussion on the parent Facebook page.
Yes.
I don't know if is it still discussion, or was it really kind of a couple of days of being
I haven't.
really?
It was a few days, but did you get emails from some parents?
I didn't. I got emails from two. Sorry, I got emails from two, and I responded to both of them. It was the people that spoke to me were bus 5, but I understand there was some discussion about bus 3 as well. So I did ask, Cindy. So Cindy, Barry, Laura, and myself, and the vice president of the bus company, got together and, I shared, what the questions that, had been coming up, in particular, and I did sort of put them in here. How are the routes created? Because I think that's always a question. So I tried to explain in here that there really was a process. So first they looked at the head counts. And as you know, the law says that you have to have a spot for everybody who's eligible based on what your policy is. And again, the school committee and the district have been very generous because of the nature of the sidewalks and different things in town, of doing a mile and a half and not 2 miles. So, in fact, when I talked to both of the ladies from the bus company, they basically said if we had the 2 mile radius, we would be serving about more than 200 less kids on the buses. Okay, so the in terms of the eligibility. So there's 2 numbers that get a little dicey in Georgetown that don't seem to happen in other places, based on what I'm understanding. So there's eligibility, and then there's, in our case, who registers, right? And those 2 things are not the same. Try as hard as we might to figure out getting the information, you qualify for a bus, out to people in April, and then asking them to get the information back to us before school gets out, so that we can make the routes earlier, is still not working. A little better, but still not working. There are a lot of people over the summer that come in and tell us they need a bus. And so last year, we tried really hard to create the bus routes earlier, based on the information we had, and guess you saw what happened last year. It was probably the biggest disaster we've ever had with buses, okay? So, not to be repeated again. So what happened is Barry sent the list of eligible people to Cindy. So the bus company was gonna make the routes this year because it makes sense. They are the ones that drive the roads. So you can see the eligibility in terms of, I put it in your orange notes, in terms of how many kids are eligible. When we look at the list of the people who actually registered, you can see there's a significant difference, sometimes as many as 20 to 30 kids. When the bus company made the routes that were posted, they based them on the number of stops they would need for the eligible riders. Okay, so when people are concerned that it might be an hour on the bus, it may not be an hour on the bus because all of those kids are not likely to ride. We just don't know exactly which kids are going to ride, right?
So if in that eligible versus register, if a student hasn't registered, but I'm on bus 3's route and shows up at a bus without registering, are they able to ride it?
We would give them the opportunity to ride it, but then we would get in touch with them and say, you need a bus pass.
Okay.
Because we went back to the colored bus passes this year.
Right.
So we would want them to be registered in our system,
Right.
right?
Okay.
So the next thing we have to do in the first 2 to 3 weeks of school is to find out who actually
What the
rides.
actuals are, right.
Right. And then what can happen is, so right now there might be a bus stop at a street because there's an eligible kid
Right.
to ride, but it might be that the eligible kid's not riding, so why would they stop at that stop? But they won't know that till they run the routes. So
So we don't need to do that, I guess that was really my question, is we don't need to do that stop in anticipation that that eligible student might be standing there in the morning if he's not registered.
well,
No, but he
Well, 'cause-
could be
'cause
out in
that's
front of
the-
his house if someday if his
So it-
parents can't get him there.
yes, we expect people to register, Michael, but not everybody does.
Right.
So that's why we really do need to figure out like who, right now, the numbers of kids that have registered are in your notes.
Right.
Those are the kids that were issued a bus pass. Okay, so, yeah, no one should be getting on the bus without a bus pass. However, if they're in K to 6,
Right.
and they show up, we can't really deny them.
Right.
We would just go back, and the
And
number
yeah,
of kids that.
Michael's certainly not to deny it, it's just to know
No,
what-
no. And the number of kids, honestly, that this will happen with is very slim to none.
If Margaret has her hand up.
Oh, Margaret, yes?
So I just wanna jump in. I did receive 2 emails from parents
Okay.
who assumed that if their child had ridden a bus last year, they were automatically enrolled this year.
Okay.
So, again, I said, I'm pretty certain that's not true, you need to re-register every year.
Right.
But I can also jump in on that with my this week's a lot earlier.
Yes, that would be
Just to
helpful.
remind parents.
So we really want, people to register, early so we know. In other districts, according to what Cindy and Kim told me, they have enough buses, so what they do is anybody who's eligible, they just create stops and then whoever gets on, right? We don't really have that luxury,
Mhm.
right? So we have to kind of operate with the registered riders. So in terms of bus 5, so the second question that was, if there are no other questions about how the routes are, so first they look at the head counts, then they look at the geographical location, like where does in Georgetown, based on where kids are eligible to ride, how do they divide the town up in a way to get the routes that are most efficient and are somewhat balanced, right? They don't wanna send, have one bus that's over, to the max, and then another that just has a few kids when they really could equalize them by changing a street or two. Do you know what I mean? So that whole geographic location, and frankly, there are some parts of Georgetown that just are gonna take longer just because of the nature of where they're located. And then third, when we had this discussion last year, because we changed the route several times, the last change was one that we thought, if we're gonna change it, let's make sure it's gonna make sense. So the goal here was, a lot of parents had already made the adjustments to those new times and locations and all that. So it didn't make sense to throw, if it was not a problem, it didn't make sense to throw everything up in the air again. So we thought, we erred on the side of, let's try to keep as much as we can like last year, because last year we we tried to get everybody home, you know, by 3:45, cause remember, there were a couple buses earlier in the year that weren't getting home till after 4. Right, we changed up the dismissal.
Yeah, I thought last year we talked about like a 45-minute time frame.
That's what
Like-
we're hoping, that
right,
everybody's gonna be
But
back.
in here it says within an hour.
Well, that's because that's because they don't know exactly
Yeah,
how
no, I
much time
know.
it's gonna take. They
But I hate to
computer,
change, that 45 minutes I think is,
that's what we want.
right.
And what she said is, right now, the estimated time of everybody getting home, there's, I think one bus was 10:04. Everybody was before that, so if you got kids leaving right at the end of the school day, you know, it's 45 minutes to an hour. That's our hope.
But when we say right at the end of the school day, did we figure out that last year, like some buses didn't show up until, you know, after school
Yeah,
was
that
dismissed?
that shouldn't happen again.
So they should be there at
So,
2:45?
so last year, 4 buses were there and 1 was not, which was bus 5. So the discussion we had the other day was, can the bus company change it up so that the person who has bus 5's route for elementary, it has a shorter route, So if he has a shorter route and delivers the kids home earlier, he too can get to Pembroke right at dismissal.
So from the middle school, so we'll have a
Yes.
shorter middle school run
Right.
to have a longer.
To get to Pembroke quicker. So that's the goal, right, is to try to figure, so that they feel they can
makes a
make
lot of
that
sense.
adjustment.
That's good.
And, you know, sometimes just by the nature of where the bus goes, it's not, some of the buses that have lesser kids on them, they're not in proximity to the place that you'd want to have some relief. Right, so the goal is not to have them crisscrossing the center, it's to be as efficient as possible with the goal of getting as many kids as possible as soon as we can, get them out and get them home. So the question that I think was concerning most of the people was, if my child's first on the bus, why are they last off the bus? Fair question. That will happen in 2 of the 5 routes. The 3 of the 5 routes, that doesn't happen. It's because of the nature of where they go. So, good example is the kids who live off of Tenney, out on Warren, you know, in, you know, the Bella Woods, all that. The bus goes out there, gets the kids, and then to school. It doesn't stop along the way to pick kids up because of the nature of where it is, right? So it's much easier to accommodate the concerned parents on that. But when you're on North Street, for example, if you're going out to Old Jacobs Road, so in the morning
Old
it's
Jacobs is off.
It's off of
West
West Main, but then there's another, North Street has the same kind of a problem.
Oh.
So,
Tin Lizzie's, down by Tin Lizzie's.
Yeah.
On the
Oh.
Groveland line.
right, so what happens is, the rule of thumb in a bus company is you start at the furthest out, and you bring the kids in, and then you start at the school, and then you bring the kids out. That's just the nature of the bus business, according to the bus company people. So, what happens in a place like Old Jacobs Road is the bus goes out there in the morning, because there's no kids on the bus, picks the kids up in that neighborhood, and then comes back toward the school, picking up the stops that along the way. So on the way home, the bus company does not believe that it makes sense to take all the kids that are on the bus, drive them all the way out to Old Jacobs Road,
Right.
past their stops,
Right.
and then come back and make the stops going the other way.
I don't know.
So that's why that happens.
Total
That's why it
minutes, the
happens.
total time.
So the
that
person
So
students
they
that lives
actually can
there.
do it. They can do it, they just don't believe that it's.
Well, I don't know that they can do it. I mean, I don't know how, I mean, I guess they could do it,
Well-
if that's what we wanted them to
Add
do,
up
but,
all the minutes of all the students, you minimize the time all the students spend on the bus by doing it this way.
But you're penalizing the kids that live
you
on.
choose-
but you
Then
choose,
the
but
kids
you
that live
choose,
the furthest out
but you do
are
choose to live there. You do
penalized,
choose
yes.
to live in that
You're
location.
not choosing the bus routes that, you know.
No, but you, no, but our,
No, but-
our expectation is that we know who's eligible and you provide them with free transportation. That is your obligation, it's my obligation. I don't know that we can ever you know, create equity for everybody, you know, I wish we could, honestly, I wish we'd start a year without a bus issue. But I think that, you know, just talking to the company, you know, that's the explanation. They say that happens in every town.
It's
Well,
more
but I think-
logical when you draw out a little diagram and you can see.
So I don't know what to do about it, so what I asked, I said, what can we do about it? And they said, well, here's our request, can we just do the bus routes the way we've posted them for the first 3 weeks? And then evaluate it, right? If we, cause we will know what stops we may not need to make, we will have a better idea of ridership, we will know how long it actually takes, we'll know if this shorter, you know, shorter high school, middle school route, you know, improves getting the bus there sooner so that maybe people wouldn't be as concerned about the time they get home. I don't know.
I think one of the reasons that it is an issue, say, for Old Jacobs Road,
Yeah.
is that we have very few buses. Most districts have more buses.
Yes.
And they don't have as many stops,
Right.
typically.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know of another district that has 5 buses, and looking at this list of eligible students, like, we're really gambling, because 4 out of, well, actually, all 5 of them show more eligible students than our seats on the bus.
That's correct.
We registered 75%
Right.
of the
Right.
eligible
Right.
students.
Right,
Yeah.
and we know from past
History.
experience that you don't get 100%
Correct.
of the eligible
Correct.
kids, but maybe someday we will.
Right, is there a way to register more of them earlier? And I know we send out the, you know, the registration
Yeah.
forms, but, you know, you send them out in April. I mean, I'm sure I received one, but I wasn't looking for one in April. I wasn't thinking about it.
Yeah.
I may or may not have received it, I don't know. But I just realized at the end of this summer that I have a son who wants to go, who needs
wants
to go
to
on
ride the
the bus, needs to go on the bus, and I didn't register, so I registered him late. So I'm wondering, is there a way to, you know, and when I say registered, I'm not even sure, how do you register a student? Do you go to see Laura?
No, usually what happens is, oh, you mean a new student?
Well, I mean, just any
No,
student.
just
like-
get the bus-
when-
the bus pass. Laura gives them.
Laura gives them.
I wanna just make sure I
What,
understand.
what's the correct way for me to have registered my son?
Well, the
passes for
correct
the
way,
bus.
if you were eligible for the bus, would have
Yes.
been for you to read the paper and complete it. If that
Find the paper, see
if
the
that
paper,
didn't
right.
happen, cause
Right.
that can happen.
And complete it and what?
And
Give it
complete it and
to-
send it back to school.
To school, okay?
Yeah, or to Laura.
Or to Laura, okay,
So we get the registrations.
yep,
And then we mail you a colored bus pass.
right,
In the mail.
right, okay.
We try to make it
Is there
as
any
easy as
way-
possible for you.
Well,
So you can't
well,
make it
but it
online?
didn't work for me.
So I don't
Can you
think,
do it online?
I
Did you
don't,
just say
Yeah,
that?
wouldn't that be so much easier if you could
Yeah,
do it
that's what-
online?
That's what I was gonna ask.
so we've had
And then
that.
you could have the option of letting the
We have
people
pirated bus
that are
passes
eligible
going
to
on.
say, we definitely will not take a bus. And then you'd be able to,
See, that's the tricky thing, because like,
we send them all, if we put it up online, unless we figure out a way to send it directly to you online, which I'm thinking about, what we wanna do is make sure you're truly eligible, cause a lot
Right.
of times people think they're eligible,
So if-
but they're really not.
If you get the letter, does that mean you're eligible?
Yes.
Oh,
Well, that
because they,
changes things, cause now I'm eligible.
Did you get a letter?
Yeah, and I ignored it, cause I didn't think I was eligible.
No.
Well,
If you-
We send it to everybody, and
Well,
then
So you'll be registering late too?
well,
I'm
so-
sorry, Michael, I
No,
must
no,
use
no.
bus
this.
free, there's one more child.
Plus one.
That's all right, bus one, let's see, we can fit you.
Bus free, I think. Aren't you bus free?
Hope it's not bus 5, that's.
I think you're bus free.
As long as it's not bus
Yeah.
one.
Well, like, for instance, we've decided that my son won't ride the bus, so we have not registered for this year. And I wish there was a way I could give that seat to somebody who needs
So
it.
there should have been on your letter, there should have been a box that said, I'm not gonna be using my seat, I forfeit it.
Right.
Right, so that, when those come back in, then lets us know that you're not interested.
I know.
But
we're not-
Even
But
though
technically
she
by
still
law-
has to have the seat for him if he ever
Well,
needs it.
but,
I mean,
but we'd feel better about giving up her seat if she checked the box than us assuming that maybe she will or
But
won't.
it is a gamble if in December you say, oh, you know what, I do need the bus.
That's fine, then she'd come in and she'd
Right.
say, I need the bus pass, and we'd give it to her because she'd be eligible and there'd be space on the bus. I don't think any
So
of our,
if she forfeits it, we're not giving it to somebody else.
well, if we were that close,
Yeah.
if we were that close, in enrollment on the buses, we'd be a little more worried.
But you know what you could do though, send out the letter, and then if somebody registered online, you could check to see whether their name is on the list, when you got the letter, or who the letter was sent out to. You know, you have the list, so you could tell if someone registers online, if they're one of the students who are eligible or not, by just comparing their name to the list. I mean, Laura would have to go through the.
I mean, that's the point, it's
anyway,
another
because
step
she
for,
has
it's
to
another
send
step for
out-
us, I mean, we could do it, sure.
Well, I'm just trying to think of, I mean, 75% is, it could be higher.
I mean, we even tried to think about, could we do a non-refundable registration fee? So people might think a little bit more about, you know, if you're K to 6, you can't charge, you can't do it.
No,
We talked to
no,
the state about it,
right.
that's not an option.
Right.
So, you know, I think we're pretty confident that most of the kids who registered are gonna ride, but, you know, we do know that there are some people that register just in case they need the bus. So that's why it's really important for the bus company to keep track of their counts, you know, for at least the first couple of weeks, so we have a better sense of who's actually riding. We're not really worried about any of the buses except, let's see, bus 4, you know, is a little concerning. If every one of those kids rides, because 77 is the capacity.
So what happens if you go past, let's just say, okay, so you're at 74 right now,
Stand behind the white line.
then what happens?
What would happen is then the bus company would have to go back and they'd have to look and see, is there any street where another bus goes near it that we can,
To rearrange the
so they will
routes.
go in and they'll look at, okay, where are the kids? And, you know, so if we think we need relief of 10 seats, okay, is there a spot near the bus that has less kids? You know, it'll definitely
Or just take the senior citizen shuttle.
well, I don't know about that, Suzanne, but I could suggest that. But I just wanted to give you an explanation. I will write a blog about it, you know, as to, you know, what's the answer to the question, why does it end up being the way it is? And, you know, we're certainly always willing to, you know, talk to people and to try to listen, but I know for 100% fact, we will not make 100% of the people happy. So, you know, our goal has been to try to rectify and we've come a long way with the buses, you know, in terms of remember last year or the year before, we were hearing a lot of issues around the people who lived within the mile and a half. So that convenience bus has over 100 kids registered. Now, it's not all kids within it's because we also pick up the apartments and we pick up Long Hill, because it doesn't make sense to not grab those kids at the same time. But, you know,
So, and that's for kids who live closer than a mile and a half.
closer,
Yeah.
and the kids in that whole area by the apartments. So, you know, we're not hearing that concern or complaint anymore. You know, we're just hoping we can narrow these times down so that we're not, you know, we're not looking at hour-long buses. And I know that concerns parents, and what Cindy and Kim told me is that in most places, and any other place that they work, and of course there are other bus companies in theirs, but in their experience, they only put the time that the child gets picked up in the morning, because they can't account sometimes for traffic, and so they always say, you know, we tell parents, and we do the same thing, you know, have a 10 to 15 minute swing, because it could be that there's something that comes up, right? So I think we just need to fine tune them, and then we'll have a better sense, and if we have to make some adjustments or some shifts, we will. But I think the problem is if we reverse it now, like bus 5, and say, okay, we'll do it differently, we'll go there and we'll start working our way in on the way home, you know, we're gonna have a lot of other people who are unhappy.
Well, I
So-
think that is, again, that's one of my biggest concerns, is that first pickup, last drop off. because potentially, if it is an hour, the child's riding the bus for 2 hours a day. Hopefully it's 45 minutes, but still, that's an hour and a half a day. And I totally respect and understand that try it out, give it some time. I'm not sure I understand why the bus company is saying, oh, we can't reverse it. Like, I understand it might be silly for a child to be sitting on the bus and drive right past their stop, you know, to go out, to drop these guys first and make their way back, but I'm not sure I'm understanding the
Right, I
bus
get it, or at least have
companies.
one of the legs, one of the routes changed, so.
Right, that's what I'm
You
saying.
know, it's still the
So
same amount of driving time, so pick the kids up on the way to Old Jacobs, and they all ride back, and then it's.
like first.
Yeah, I'll definitely, you know, continue to talk with them about it.
Right, and I understand we have to try it
Yeah.
and see,
Yeah.
and
And it is my understanding, this is the way it's been, like, this is not really new, it's just that people are, I think, are getting frustrated that it hasn't changed. I don't think this is new.
Right.
And Mike and I were talking about it, Mike said 20 years ago, when he rode the bus, he was out at the outskirts of town, and he was first on and last off.
20.
So, you know, did I say 20, Mike? But, so I think it's not a new, situation.
Right.
But it just feels, you know, it's frustrating to people, and I hear that, so I'll continue to talk with them about it.
again, the problem is because our buses are so packed
Right.
and they have so many stops.
Well, and if you had more buses, if we had more buses, then there would be, we could organize the routes, routes would be shorter. Right, so
Exactly.
you wouldn't have, like you said,
Right.
so many stops.
Which
To
would
get
eat up
to
the
the
time.
outskirts, especially if you're getting to the outskirts, stopping along the way, as opposed to, like I told you, if you got to Tenney or Warren, you're driving out there, you're kind of dealing with a sort of a consolidated area, and then you're just driving back to town. You're not stopping on the way in and stopping on the way out. That's what happens on the 2 bus runs that do the,
Okay, so we're gonna
so I can
give
certainly.
them a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think I'd report to you maybe the last September meeting or something about where we are.
But it would be a good question to ask.
Yeah, I will ask, for
Right.
sure. I will ask.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great question.
Maybe for the future, we might.
So if,
Think about
do you
that.
have any other questions on the buses?
We think about it
We've been
every
thinking
year.
about another bus for a long time.
Well, and
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
the budget is what it is, and we wouldn't wanna
Yeah,
cut
I mean,
programs in our schools, but.
What did she tell me? I'll just a minute here. She told me that, so we have basically 586 students that are eligible. Not that will ride, but they're eligible. She said you have,
Total?
yep, she said you have, you know, the buses hold 77, even though middle high school, you don't put 77 kids on the bus. She said Topsfield has 583 students that are eligible, and they have 7 buses.
It's a bigger town.
Well, I'm
Like-
just
like
saying that,
mileage-wise,
I'm just
okay.
saying that's,
And they
but
have
that's
side
what
by
she's,
side.
that's just an
I
example.
wonder how
Yeah.
long their kids are on it, like,
I don't know.
probably a max of like a half hour, I would think.
I don't know, cause I mean, their locations are a little,
Is that 586 is elementary and middle high school, correct?
it
has to be.
yes, I believe so.
Yeah, cause that gives them total 586.
Yeah.
They wouldn't
Oh,
give us a
yeah.
discount if they just did an elementary run, like with a 6th bus.
No, we looked at that.
No,
looked
we
at that.
tried,
Right, I
we did
think-
try that.
'Cause
And
it's a
that's
bus and a
for like a
body.
used bus, that's not even for
I
a
mean,
new
sh-
bus, is that correct? Like
That's
looking
right.
at,
I don't know, she said generally runs around $60,000 a bus. Now, she said you have 10 runs, I mean, if we didn't wanna do, if
We
we
could
didn't wanna
shift the high
transfer it
school
any
run
no,
to
we don't wanna
Right.
transfer high school
Then-
kids, we can do
Then we
2
have 10 buses
elementary
for
runs.
elementary.
That's right.
no,
That's
remember, it
exact-
wasn't the 10 buses.
No, it was, they had,
Do you remember that we
yeah.
went
Double
through
runs.
this, it
No,
wasn't.
no, but she's saying if you didn't run high school routes, if you just didn't run high school routes, and you just used your buses for elementary. But I said to her, we went that route with double bus runs, we don't wanna do that
No,
again.
that
We
was-
don't wanna dump kids off an hour early to sit, and we have to figure out what to do with them on either end of the day. That's not the answer. So, she said, well, just talking, just telling you, just saying. So, other than that, I think, you know, you had an opportunity to tour the schools, so, you know, Peter and Margaret are certainly able to, you know, highlight anything that, you know, that you might wanna know about, and we certainly are anxious to hear your thoughts on what you saw in your tours. What's the,
Who wants to go first?
I thought the high school looked great, the middle high school looked great.
Good.
And well done, and I said it there, but well done on all the cafeteria stuff. I mean, that was a
good?
huge undertaking that.
Yeah, it looks
And
awesome,
it looks,
doesn't
it looks new and shiny and fancy, but it also looks like it belongs there. So it doesn't look like it came out of nowhere, I think, so,
yes,
well done.
Thank you. You guys worked really hard.
they did, it was excellent. We had fun planning it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I went with you, Michael, and I was very impressed as well, and I thank you and your team so much for everything you've done. And, they put in new water fountains that was at the students' request, right?
Student council, I think.
Student council's request and
Middle school student council.
Middle school, okay.
So where are
In the
those?
second and third floor, on the end away from the, the front door upstairs, and they look great.
They're chilled and they have the water bottle filling.
Like the one downstairs?
Yes, correct, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
We went we saw the library and the computer lab, and all the floors are just so shiny.
Those floors are so shiny.
Now, what about the makerspace?
The makerspace, we saw
Oh, right,
those,
those.
they look great, it's, full of all kinds of technology and material and
Yeah,
stuff,
just
and
stuff,
fun
yeah.
things, to
Technical
buildings, and
That's
and
awesome.
couches to, for the kids to sit and brainstorm and imagine and plan, and, so it's comfortable as well as, useful, and you can just see it's a wonderful environment for creativity to grow and blossom.
Yeah, Liz
Yeah.
Marchetti spent a lot of time, and actually, one of the other science teachers, helped her as well, came in, on her own time. Did a beautiful job, and then, there
They
were
did.
kids who came in and helped, and Pam, your sons were very helpful in the makerspace at Pembroke as well, so we thank
Yeah.
you very much for having that. But they had some help, but it really was their creation. They really put a lot of time and energy, and it's really, I think it's gonna be fruitful for the kids, but I'm glad you got a chance to see the space.
And we saw a space in the library that could develop into a makerspace. And we went back and we saw the kitchen and the kind of the way they're gonna rearrange, they have rearranged, the dishwasher, put the panini stations, and everything looks wonderful.
And your microwaves are there?
Yes, they are.
So they have,
Yeah, which is great.
And charging stations that
And,
have
what?
been donated,
Great.
charging stations in the
Oh,
cafeteria.
yeah. I
Yeah.
saw
install
that.
the walls,
Yeah.
yep.
They look
Yeah.
fabulous, great, I bet those will be well used.
Right, so speaking of charging stations, how did the pickup go with the iPads? Yesterday and today, everything was good?
Yeah, Tuesday, yesterday and today. It was good that we were able to plan it around the orientations for 7th and 9th grade, so we had a lot of parents come in when they're picking their child up. I think we only have around 15 left to pass out. A lot of people said that, or a few of those people had emailed me prior to saying that they were still on vacation this week and they come get them on Monday or Tuesday, and they're in the main office and the secretaries are helping out passing them out, so it's gone very smoothly.
Yeah, I've heard from a lot of, just kids around my house, saying they picked them up and they're really excited for it.
as I will
So
say, I
that's
got
good.
there early and a parent and a student came in and it was a 5-minute,
Yeah, there you go.
easy,
See you
simple
later.
thing, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so,
Good.
I mean, Ben, our technology guy, did yeoman's work, this summer, getting all of the technology, up and running,
Oh, yeah.
unpacked, and all that. Colin was very helpful, Mike's guys helped, I mean, it was really a team effort. It was really a team effort, and, it's a big undertaking. Actually, it was interesting, cause a lot of, we found that most people actually either bought them outright or in one or two payments. First two payments. There were a few people that, did them on the installment plan, but most people,
Bit the bullet.
did, yeah. And I think Ben found some creative ways to, when, how we were talking quite a bit about the whole app thing and shutting the computers down and locking them down, so hopefully they explained to you that they were able to, not be as restrictive, which is, I think, gonna make everybody
Yeah.
much happier.
Right, so when you say least restrictive, so will there be some, apps that the kids can't access though, like, even
So
if they bought it outright from?
The software that we have, it's called putting a profile on the iPad, and the ones that are being paid off in installments, since they're still under our ownership, we've made a profile that's more restricted for those iPads, so they can really only be used as a school
Educational tool.
device, right? So they can't access the App Store, they can't download their own music, they can't. It's really like used for specifically what we need it to be used for. We know from the parent nights that there was a big ask to, if we just want to buy it outright, can we use it as a personal iPad? And the initial thought was yes, but then you may not have the benefit of getting our school's apps. However, Ben was able to make it a separate profile for the iPads that were paid off. They have a zero balance, where it's basically an unrestricted iPad, and the only thing that we control is pushing apps out to them. So they still get the benefit of getting all the school-related apps while having an open iPad.
That's what you were talking
Okay.
about, so I don't think they
But
backed into
there's
it.
no way, the school doesn't like have the power to, if the student tries to go put an app on, or go into, say, Twitter during the school day, they can do that? Or can they not?
They can't
We-
because of the school's
That's what I'm
firewall.
asking.
Firewall.
So the school's
Yeah, the
firewall
firewall.
prevents that.
Right.
Yeah, the school's firewall prevents or controls the
Like
internet.
Snapchat, things like
And no
that.
matter how,
Or say prevents.
yeah,
to put it in
no matter how things are configured on an iPad and how much you can do, you're still restricted, but you're using our Wi-Fi and you're restricted by that. And we know who's where. If you're in our building, anybody, if you have a phone, if you connect to our Wi-Fi, we know who you are and we know where you're going.
Big brother.
Yep. And it's not just us, it's about anywhere you go, you can tap into Wi-Fi.
And
So-
our tech integration specialists are also working with Apple Classroom that will give the teacher within a class a little more surveillance, maybe isn't the right word, but oversight, there we go, of what students, if they set it up, the students come into class, they put in a PIN code, and then that iPad shows up on the teacher's iPad so they can direct them to a specific website that they're looking at, or they can push out, I need everybody to be on this app right now, so it can really help with classroom management to get everybody on the same page.
We had one of the elementary teachers last year tell us about that,
Yes.
that she did that. That's
Now,
great.
that can be done only on the ones gotten through the district, right?
No.
Can you do that on the iPad that I bring in that I
Yeah,
bought?
so all you need is to download the Apple Classroom app.
Okay.
What we presented on last year was through that Jamf software, and because not everyone will have that software, because we have a lot of people bringing their own, we found another option that seems to work just as well, because you download that app, you put in the PIN, and then it queues you up to the teacher's iPad.
Excellent, okay.
All right.
And that's
sorry-
big too,
sorry
because
to
that
go
was a
off
big
the-
question about it,
No,
sort
no,
of
no, no,
undermining
that's
the
fine.
value of
Yep,
it.
yep.
No, I was gonna talk about that anyway, so that's great. Mike, was there anything else you wanted to highlight? Because,
Things that we've done.
yeah, do you wanna highlight?
Sure,
anything?
we painted the windows behind Curly.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
They're painted.
Obviously, we did all the normal stuff, cut a lot of grass.
A lot of grass.
Yeah, we've rototilled and fertilized the Etoxu fields. I don't know if you've been up there, but
I
they're
haven't been up there.
really green and really have filled in with a lot of bald spots. We've been using fertilizer and stuff to get them going.
Are the fields lined up there?
Yep, they're all lined, painted. We painted all the parking lots and crosswalks, well, most of them. And the one at the high school, there was gas company was repainted.
Yeah, the gas
So we're
companies,
gonna-
they're putting tar in it.
Someone's gonna go touch them up tomorrow, finish it up before school starts. And, a lot of our time went into helping with the maker spaces. We put cabinet doors in the library at Pembroke. Did you guys see
Yes, we
those?
did, it was
Saw those,
beautiful,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we helped with some stuff at the high school, putting up pegboards and rearranging and stuff. And a lot of time just went into the kitchens, into the coffee shop, obviously. We painted Pam's wall in the gym.
Yes, we did.
Oh,
yes.
That's great.
and,
So there should be a plaque.
I keep my eye on that wall.
Yeah, you probably didn't notice, but we put epoxy flooring in the front foyer of the high school, right where between the
I did
walk-off mat and the outside, there
It was
used to be
scuffy.
torn
It
rug
was
there.
scuffy.
So we tore it all up and put epoxy flooring
The
down.
rug was really fraying, it was
Yeah.
not we were afraid somebody was gonna trip, but it was also an eyesore. So Mike's guys figured out how to put a nice floor in there.
We've done a lot, regular maintenance things like HVAC, exhaust fans, changing belts, all that kind of stuff. And obviously cleaning the buildings. So it was a really busy summer.
And on top of that, I have to say, since Mike's here, that he also helped us, because Sean wasn't right here, right off the bat, he helped make sure that the plan we put in place, a lot of those things that related to, getting the kitchens ready and getting the vending machines up and running and those kind of things. Mike was really instrumental in that. And he was also helpful in the assistant athletic director position, getting selecting Ryan Browner, getting Ryan up to speed, working on that, helping us get a trainer. So we are still looking for a trainer, but Mike had an idea that was, I think, brilliant, and that is that we have 2 people on the custodial staff who are EMTs.
They're gonna work it.
So at least for 2 weeks, we're going to.
Cause I know you mentioned the nurse yesterday,
Yes,
so
she
but
wasn't
she's
able
not
to,
in
she
yet.
wasn't
Well,
able
we
to
weren't
do
sure
it,
she was
but
EMT.
we did think of her as well. Guy did some homework on that and found out that a nurse could service that function, but only for practices, not for games. So we were looking at that, thinking, well, okay, we could cover, well, yeah, we're right, it would cost us a little less, to get an outside company. So we're gonna, for at least 2 weeks, right, they've got a schedule, so we'll pay them overtime, to cover that, and they've got it all, got that covered. But the goal would still be, and Guy has a couple of leads that he's still chasing down, that he's, one he was very optimistic about, he was just waiting for a call back, so that, we're still desperately looking for a volleyball coach.
Do any of you guys do volleyball?
I was gonna say, we also need an 8th grade English teacher,
Well, actually, don't laugh, we did put something out to the whole district saying if you have any contacts, but, I know Guy has been working really hard on it. We've got the girls doing open gym right now. The captains and a couple of kids that were former players here that are in college, who are going back to college.
Oh, they were helping?
They have been helping, and Mrs. Sotnick has been, kind of helping Guy, alternating with Guy, sort of supervising.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, so that, that, we're still looking, and we've looked at colleges, we've got a couple people that are on our staff that coach other places, we're getting their network, Guys put it on the MIAA site several times, we did a local ad. We had a lead today about a family in Georgetown who are very into volleyball, so we're actually contacting to see if they know of anybody, so I think everybody's really working hard at it. I don't wanna have to cancel the season, that's what I'm concerned about, right?
Are we in the schedule?
Not yet, we're still,
So
we
we
haven't even
can't
had, we
enter
haven't
in-
even had tryouts yet, because you don't wanna have tryouts if there's any chance at all that you're not gonna have a team. You have to have a coach, right? So, again, we're working on it, I think, and Guy had somebody that he talked to yesterday, I think, that he thought was gonna take the job, and then she, as a teacher in another district, and then she talked to her principal, and her principal said, I can't really, swing letting you leave early, because, I think the thing that's hard is Guy can adjust the schedule where he can, but the league schedule is set. So if they were all night games, it would be easier, but they're not all night games. Oftentimes they start at 3:30.
But how easy
4 o'clock.
will it be to enter into that schedule when,
Well,
once
right
we
now,
do get a coach?
right now, well, no,
If we get a
if we get a coach, we're just gonna do the schedule, right? We're gonna do the tryouts and we're gonna participate.
Oh, so we're still in the schedule.
We didn't
we have
change
a
it.
schedule.
We
Yeah.
have a
You
schedule.
are in the,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
okay,
we're
so
in the league.
Georgetown has a
Yeah.
placeholder for each game.
Oh, yeah, we
Yeah.
have the
It was
schedule,
such
they
a
think,
forfeit.
the league
Yeah.
thinks
All
we
right.
have a
Yeah.
coach and we're playing in the league. We're just trying to figure out, like, we gotta get the coach.
Do you need a body just to be at the games?
Well,
Sean, do you know volleyball?
we don't, yeah, when we've done that,
People that we
when we've done that, it has been a concern for kids and parents. So we're looking at everything, we're trying to get somebody who can be a coach, right? Because the girls deserve that, right? I mean, I think they'd like to play anyway, but they deserve a coach, right? So we haven't exhausted all the possibilities yet, but I just want you to know, Guy has put in a lot of time on this, and really, I know he has, cause he's been keeping me updated on it. And thanks to Mrs. Sotnick and, you know, a whole lot of other people that have really been trying really hard to,
She doesn't wanna be a
you know,
coach?
no, she didn't wanna be the coach, but, you know. So, again, so we need that, and then, Guy will be starting fairly soon with the, selection of a boys' basketball coach, cause that's the next thing coming up. And he and Ryan and Peter and Mike will be meeting to just really, you know, lay out exactly what duties are going to be Ryan's, but our expectation right now is that Ryan will be at most, if not all of the games, shared with Guy. Because the visibility is definitely something that we're really trying to attack this year. So, and we're gonna have Ryan and, we'll have Ryan and Guy come to the first, I think when you and I talked about it, we said the first, I forgot what meeting, we have it written down, to one of the upcoming meetings to
Yeah,
talk
no, I
about.
don't think it's the next one.
I think it might have been the second one in
first one
September,
in
in October, I thought, but we'll, I
come.
know I have it in my book. So, they'll come and we'll have a little bit more information for you of exactly how that's all being done. But, you know, thank you to Mike for all the extra
Thanks, Mike.
efforts that he's put in this summer beyond, you know, his regular job.
Cheryl, do you wanna
know
talk?
what your regular job is anymore.
I know, Mike's a go-to guy, he's a creative problem solver,
Yeah.
for sure.
Do you wanna talk about Pembroke? I was
Sure.
there a little late, so Cheryl got to.
Yeah, well, things look squeaky clean at Pembroke, and I know it was very challenging, especially at the end where the camp is in the kindergarten classroom, so the poor kindergarten teachers didn't get in until last week, is that right? And okay, so, and the workers are starting to and everything is in place. I would say the highlight of the tour had to be the makerspace. And we were lucky that Mary Ann Fravel was there along with Michelle Rio, and they could show us some of the materials and things you could do with the robotics, the circuits, the Osmo iPad thing, which I really like,
Yeah,
the
it was really
gears,
exciting.
and everything looks set up and ready to go. And they have a plan as to how they're gonna start. They're gonna work with, Mary Ann's gonna work with Michelle Rio in the library, with the kids to, you know, are teachers gonna bring their classes? Is Mary Ann gonna go into, so they're gonna start with library classes with the kids, so, that's a good starting point. And, Margaret might wanna talk a little bit more about the PBIS, and, you know, she showed me some of the things in the hall that are, gonna be positive reinforcements for the kids for doing the right things. And classrooms were ready,
Yeah, the classrooms.
classrooms look good.
The makerspace was fully stocked.
Fully stocked.
Looks great.
And Margaret showed us the vending machines over there, which are sort of in the foyer outside the gym. And the other thing Margaret told me right at the beginning was, Mike, they moved the defibrillators.
Oh, right.
So,
We moved one from the
Moved
nurse's
one.
office to right outside in the main lobby. We're gonna take, the other two are recessed in the walls, so it's a
Right.
little bit more work. But we're gonna move, there's one in the gym and one in the caf, so we're gonna move them to the gym lobby so they're visible from either side. We're gonna take the other one and put it up in front of the library on this floor.
so I think the purpose is if they're accessible.
Yeah, right now, they were all clustered in like
Mm.
the caf and the
Yeah.
gym, and then one was in the nurse's office, which is
So
not
if
accessible.
there were after hours activities at the schools,
Yeah.
they'd be locked up.
Yeah, that's great.
So
Yeah,
that
we'll
would
do that.
really be helpful.
Yeah.
Someone had a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And the coffee counter.
Yes, we saw the coffee counter in the kitchen, which is replacing the coffee machine that was in the front office, I think. And along with the coffee, there'll be scones and muffins and bagels. for purchase by the teachers. So this coffee
that's
area
great.
is specific for the teachers. Anything I missed? Anything else?
It looked great. Yeah.
Um,
But the things that the kids have going on in the library and that makerspace is really, really neat. I couldn't tear these two away. Start playing with them.
Listen, I didn't get anything done this afternoon because I was,
That's why we were
I was,
late, right?
I was helping to set the makerspace up
Peter
because.
wouldn't let us help play in the,
Oh,
in
he
the
wouldn't
high
let you
school.
play?
It was look.
Are you kidding? Peter was in there the other day and I went up there and he was playing. He'll be up there playing, don't you worry.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was helping, and we were having a great time, and the kids that were helping were so helpful the last few days. But Mary Ann said, you know, every time they'd finish something, then they'd be over playing with this stuff, you know,
Yeah.
because it's just hard not to. It's
I said to
it's
Michael,
fun to
"So,
do.
what did you do?" He said, "Oh, we were playing with Legos."
Well, he made they were sorting the Legos.
He said, "And we put things together." and
Yeah,
did
he
other
did,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. He was excited. They were excited
They're
about the
responsible
Legos.
for putting stuff away.
Yeah, yeah, and they put, and then the two of them put, a thing together that says, Lego board, which we're gonna mount above the Lego board, so they made the words Lego board in Legos,
Oh, good.
so,
Yeah, that's-
yeah.
I do wanna go over and see the sign for the cafe.
Oh, it looks
Yeah, it
good.
looks really good.
Looks nice, yeah, I'll
Oh,
have to
it
go
looks
over.
awesome.
They were putting
Really
that, they were
good.
putting that up today.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was very exciting.
That's good.
Mike wanted
That's
that,
great.
Mike wanted the sign up
Yeah.
for today, and he got it up, so
Yeah.
it looks awesome.
Good.
And Henry and Derek Jones did a terrific job with the new staff today, they really did, they were great.
I took a picture.
Sean, did you go to
Look
the
at-
Alice
There's the sign.
training?
No, he has had it
Oh,
already.
that's neat.
She's good.
See the sign?
Yes, I saw it, I was
You
there,
had
and I
already-
loved it, yeah.
You had already?
I've already been twice, yeah, so I got to.
I said, I gave him a reprieve, I said, you
We
got
were
too many
busy.
other
Yeah.
things
Yeah,
to
we
do.
were busy.
Yeah.
So shiny.
And he did.
Yeah, it looks beautiful.
Lots of poly.
Gorgeous.
Lots of
Well,
poly.
actually,
I love it.
Jared told us it's like glue, like glue, and it's what they do for tops of bars,
Mm-hmm.
literally, you know, so,
Yeah.
but watching him work
So you
with
can just
that,
slide stuff across as well.
there'll be no contest for that.
Fabulous.
Yeah, it does look fabulous.
Yeah, we
How
were
does
able.
Pearlie look?
Oh, it looks great. I had a wonderful tour guide, Suzanne.
Yeah,
was
Suzanne took you over.
The two of us.
Did
Um,
you get
did
a
a
chance to see the senior center?
I did. I was very, very
Nice.
impressed. I had not seen it since the construction, so to see the final product, it was
Yeah.
just, it was great.
Yeah, that's good.
Looks fantastic, but the whole school looks
The
great.
preschool classrooms looks good. Have the teachers been in like this week?
Yeah, everything's all
Elementary
set up.
teachers
They're all
start
set
at
up. It's
August
just
first.
so impressed at how it just all comes together, and it looks like a brand new school again.
Yeah.
Yes,
Beginning of the year always looks great.
yeah, everything looks
For a
good.
few weeks.
No, I mean,
I just forget how spacious those classrooms are. I
They
mean,
are, they're very nice.
which is great.
this is my first year not at Pearl.
I know.
Being there for 3 years with Kyle, but I have to say, I mean, that renovation was done in 1995, and it's still,
Yep.
to me, every day it looked new.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a well maintained
well
building.
Well maintained.
The only hiccup was the snow that went through the.
Yeah.
Were you here?
I wasn't here then.
Yeah, I remember that.
I was.
Yes.
Yeah.
The people at Pentucket Workshop called.
Yeah, they
and
did at noon.
By the way, we can see your roof.
Yeah,
and
it has a hole in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the school, I'm very impressed with all the schools. And the middle high school, to me, the last few years has looked so good. Because in the, not to say that it ever looked bad, but it just really has looked good
Yeah,
the
the
last
renovation
couple
gave
of
it a
years.
face.
The
So-
renovations.
I mean, we
helped.
definitely,
Yeah.
like, we do have a few things, like Mike and I talked about, we washed the walls, but, the white walls, so sometimes there's pencil marks and stuff, so our goal would be to, just
Paint the halls.
paint the halls,
Right, paint the
cause
floor.
where we did paint the halls, like, over near the gym, a fresh coat of paint makes a lot of difference, we're tied up with many other things, so we'll get to that. And then in the stairwells where the old treads are, I'd love to see those, I wanna get on a cycle of figuring out like what it would take to do, cause I think our guys could do it. I think our guys can put the treads down, we just have to figure out what to
Take the time
purchase,
and
we just
the-
need the time and the materials. So those are definitely, and then eventually, one of the things that we'd love to do is paint the lockers. But other than that, I mean, when I used to look at the list of things we need to do at the middle high school, it was a long list. And now I look at it and think, well, you know what? A lot of those things have been knocked off now, and really, it's just, the auditorium, I would like to see, you know, something done in the auditorium. You know, we talk, and I think CIP, you know, if they ever end up with more money, they actually agreed with us that the auditorium could use some money, so I'd wanna come back and talk to you again about, you know, if there is money for that, you know, can we put that on the list? Cause the other things that I'm talking about, I think, you know, if we budget correctly, we can do those things over time, but the auditorium would be a bigger ticket, you know, by the time you buy a bigger curtain, you look at replacing the carpet, you know, the floor needs to be done with the floor, some of the seats are like a little shaky now, so, you know, I think it's a longer term project with a little bit more significant money, but really the list is short now, as Barbie said, it looks a lot
Well,
better.
The painting, I remember years ago at Pembroke, we used to have the prisoners
Yeah,
come in.
yeah,
Is
yeah.
that program
I
over?
remember No, I think
They
Peter
did the town
Durkee,
hall
Oh, they
2
did?
years
Oh,
ago.
yeah, they did do that.
I think
Oh,
Peter
yeah.
Durkee has a line,
We used
you
them
know.
for a week this summer.
Oh, okay.
We had them actually doing a lot of outside work, but we used them.
Right, cause we have a lot of outside work to do too. I mean, we have a lot of grounds,
Yes, yes, we do.
we have a lot of grounds. And especially now at Pembroke, I mean, that's a lot more grounds, as we've been talking about in the budget the last several years, you know.
Well, that is a question, Mike, so how do you think we will be able to maintain those? Are you concerned at all, or
With the grounds,
guys
well, I'm hoping
concerned?
with that new, you know, the new halftime guy will help
Electrician, the
significantly.
electrician,
And,
and Ryan.
we hired both those people at the end of August, so they really helped with the workload this summer. I mean, they did for the last couple of weeks, but
And how many summer
being
people
down.
did you have?
we
this
had,
year? Kids.
we had it, one at Burley, one at Pembroke, and 3 at the high school.
Those kids were excellent,
Mhm.
they were excellent workers, wouldn't you say, Mike?
Yeah, they
I
were all
mean,
great workers.
they were all great workers, took pride, and I think really, we're happy to have the job. And Pam's son helped out in the technology department doing an unpaid internship, which was very helpful it was Jeff, very helpful to Ben. Good experience for him.
Enjoyed working with Ben a lot.
Ben's a star. Ben's a star.
Okay, well, thank you
So,
for
yeah.
that.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Mike.
Yeah,
Appreciate you being
thanks.
here. You can go too, Sean, if you want.
I think Mike needs help, but.
Just hang with Mike.
Can I hang with you, Mike?
This looks like everybody's been separated.
Yes. Don't sit next to each other.
Oh, no, they all get along good.
Jack's gonna copy off of.
They just need a little space.
Yeah, we don't have much left here anyway.
Nope.
Okay, so opening, we just.
So
went
why
through school
is the
read.
calendar here?
What?
That's the one that you updated on the 7th.
So nothing changed.
Oh, right,
That's
so
just
we don't have, I'm like,
information.
what? Right, so.
Okay, perfect.
The Pembroke parent information nights were changed.
They
Yeah.
were, right. So
Because it
it
fell
does
on
not,
holiday.
yeah, it does not conflict with Rosh Hashanah. So those new dates are the 20,
Tuesday the 26th and Wednesday the 27th.
yeah,
That's in this.
okay,
That's reflected.
yeah, perfect.
Can I just ask, so I just put up on Facebook some dates that are upcoming. And 2 of the events that I put up was preschool orientation at the park and preschool orientation day. And I believe someone came up with a question, and they said, like, is this for everyone in preschool?
It would be.
It would be, okay, I'll just
You
do
can
it.
say yeah, if you go to Pearly, if you go to Pearly, but it's not.
Well,
yeah.
preschool, yeah,
But why would they think it wouldn't be everybody?
I don't know, I just know.
Maybe
asked
they
the
thought it was
question, so
teacher
I'll
by
just
teacher?
say.
I don't know.
Well, it is teacher by
Well,
teacher.
I was gonna say, there are specific times for the
each
teachers.
teacher.
I wouldn't be able to tell you what time, but each teacher does have a time.
So should they call the school to find out their teacher's time? They,
If they don't know
I
it?
would
if they don't
suggest
know it,
emailing the teacher.
emailing, okay. Oh, okay, let me write that.
Well, and actually, I
and
think it
for
was
all-
on the preschool parents Facebook page, the times for each
Oh.
teacher.
Oh, okay.
Preschool parents page.
Okay.
Facebook
Maybe
page.
just put the link to that page.
I didn't
Just
even know
remind
there was such a
everyone
page,
last
but
week
so,
was
okay.
I don't know, who manages
I
that?
think
No, the
there's-
preschool parents
So
would
it's
be
the
the.
Georgetown
right.
preschool
Volunteer.
parents page?
Or if it's like the
Okay.
PTA.
Yeah.
Georgetown
Oh,
preschool.
Is that, is that,
Yeah.
is that open, is that an
I can-
open, is the
I-
preschool, is it closed? Would, like if Pam puts up, you know, for
You have to
for
be invited to
specific
the
time.
page,
I'm
right?
not sure,
If this
'cause
person
I've been
is
on it for a while, but
new
I guess I could find it, copy the link and put it on the Georgetown parents page. That would-
It's not really secret anymore.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thanks for continuing to post on that, Pam.
Oh, sure.
Okay, so,
Team effort.
okay, so we have, under financials, we do have, some transfers that we have to approve.
Question, and I didn't get this to you before, I apologize. Why, what, I know we had a couple of positions that we did in those. Before Margaret goes, I have a
Okay.
question for her on
Okay.
the after-school thing.
Okay, good.
Don't go.
Stay, Margaret.
We can, should we jump to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
If you want, go ahead.
There was a question last meeting about the lunch bunch
Yes.
fee.
Yeah.
Are we, is there a staffing, is there a labor cost change? And if not, why are we changing the fee?
Well,
Is what we asked
yeah,
last meeting or 2 meetings
I mean,
ago.
I,
The answer is no.
it's hard to say this in a nice way. It's a service, so we're increasing the time, we're providing a service. And, when Amanda checked at area, preschools that run a similar service, we're still well below that. So there is, I mean, there's not really an increase, the person's still there, but
Mhm.
there's an increase the time the person is actually with the children. So
Okay.
it's not, their pay isn't being increased, but it's an increase in a service, I guess that's the only,
Mhm.
way to put that.
Okay. Okay.
Right, so I think that we weren't I think we decided not to recommend it.
Well, if it was
Based on
because of
that.
that, if it
Right.
wasn't a cost to us,
Right.
we had a difficult time
Right.
increasing, but I understand what you're saying,
Right, I mean,
completely
it
understand.
is a cost, because we are paying someone. We're not going to pay them more with the price increase, but we are paying someone to do that, and
Right.
we.
But it's the same,
But they would already be there.
yeah, it's
Right.
not any more than what we were paying them prior.
Correct.
Okay.
That's the answer.
So, do we make a motion to not? Anything, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, see, I didn't think you would make a motion.
with that,
because-
yeah, it would
because
be
you're
no
not-
change in
you're
the
not
fee.
making a
saying no.
change.
Okay.
Well, because in here there are two there's two flyers and they're different. So
One was Yes, with but- the increase and one was
Was that
with
the
the
only
increase
difference?
and
Was
one
that-
was
okay.
without.
one was just the way it is now. So
They're just,
Okay,
wa-
so
they're
the
just
ones with
waiting
just
for
the way
you
it
to,
is now
right, they're just.
will be the one
wait-
that will go up.
Right, they're just waiting for you to decide. If you think that you don't wanna increase it, they'll just send them one out.
Well, how does the committee feel about that? Without taking a vote? I mean,
yeah, well, I mean, if it's not a cost to us, why are we charging more?
Well, yeah, Margaret just explained why
Right.
it came forward.
Right.
Right, and that
And
was
I-
your concern, and the answer is that it's no additional cost. So
Right.
we were assuming that, we didn't put a motion in here because we were assuming that that was not where the committee wanted to go based on the last discussion, but it could change, like you said.
I hear what you're saying and I agree.
okay, so we'll keep it the same.
Thank you.
Okay. Line item transfers, you had a question?
I did, I'm just asking other questions. So why, I know we added a couple of positions and that stuff, why are we shifting, why does stuff shift around so quickly in the budget year?
Well, because the salary budget that is in the system right
it's
now
the
is the
salary
one that we
adjustment.
approved, no, this,
Oh.
it's the one that you approved, way back when the FY 18 budget was approved. So these adjustments are being made because of the adjustments in the people, and new people being hired, in salary adjustments for the admin raises. So a lot of things have
Okay.
changed since you approved the 18 budget.
I guess what, and that makes sense. I guess when I see the salary adjustment,
Well,
which
because
is where
part
we
of that
include.
that's where the salary,
Right, but that's $17,000 of.
well, no, but it also included, we added, the AD,
The two the two.
and some of him had to come out of the salary adjustment.
Okay.
Which line are you looking at, Michael?
I'm
Just
on.
Are you looking at the salary adjustment?
20.
20?
We took 17.
Okay, salary adjustment, yep.
So that was just the end all of what happened with all the changes in the salaries. I had to take 17. That was with the assistant AD and the raises, because that, part of that 35 was raises for the admin. That's what we put in the budget last year.
So you moved it,
So I had to give the admin their raises
Right.
and take it from the salary adjustment line. So it's just adjusting that line so the salaries are correct in the other lines.
so it's kind of a placeholder.
No, I totally get that.
Okay, so ask, can you ask
So,
your
yeah, I
question
don't know-
another
I
way,
don't know.
Michael, cause I'm not sure we're understanding what you're asking.
If that, so the salary adjustment line holds the administrative raises
And
and
the central
It did.
office,
the
right?
central office raises, yeah,
Yeah.
just more
Yeah.
broadly, and faculty raises.
No, those were already done when we did the step.
Oh, right, because we're not, I'm sorry, because we're not on a, okay, so I guess that's what I'm asking then is, and I know, and we took some money for the new hires out of the salary adjustment line, totally
Right,
get that.
yeah.
And we gained some from hiring cheaper
Hiring, right,
and
for sure.
all, yep.
I guess my question though is, if there's $17,000 coming out of the salary adjustment line, we're moving $258,000 other dollars, and some of that is those two new salaries, which is probably $80,000 or $90,000 between the two.
What new salaries are we talking about, Michael?
The assistant AD position and the
Well, some of that
electrician.
came out of the custodial
Remember we-
sublines, and then when we hired the electrician, we took money from, the
Right.
maintenance building. So a lot of lines had to be adjusted in order to allocate the correct salaries. I guess I just don't understand your question.
My question is the total. Because I would expect to see those.
275 or
The
the
total,
total
the
amount?
275 number. So I would expect to see, and I don't know what those folks make, but I would guess between the two, it's $90,000 or $100,000 or so.
Mhm.
Add in the 17 in the salary adjustment line, which I totally understand. We're at 117, but we're shifting 275.
Well, because other things had to adjust because they were, for instance, the sped clerical salary went down, so I had to adjust that. I mean, it's an adjustment of the whole staffing. It's not, it's the bottom line of the adjustments of the entire staffing. And you're talking about the staffing that you approved back in March, and a lot has changed. So in the beginning of the year, you're gonna have a lot of,
Okay.
I mean, I can go over it
I'm
with
trying to
you
think
Yeah.
of what,
in more
I'm trying to think
detail
of
if you like.
what documentation would help you, Suzanne keeps a detailed spreadsheet of every,
Yeah, yeah.
every
Why don't we
salary or
just meet
something?
and you can
And
look
that's
at
why I
my
needed to email you
staffing.
before tonight, so.
Yeah, just to, maybe that would help.
Yeah.
You can actually see where those shifts are.
Mhm. I can show you exactly where they are.
Do we still want to move forward and make the motion before you have your
Yeah,
questions?
I don't doubt.
Okay, you just wanna understand what you
Yeah,
want.
the number seems more than I would expect it to be.
Okay. Does anyone else have any
No,
questions
no.
for Suzanne? No. Okay, so I will make a motion to approve line item transfers number 1 through 48 dated August 17th, 2017 in the total amount of $275,838.74 as presented by Suzanne.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, now we have some, the P card approval.
Yeah, the P cards.
I just jumped straight to a motion, because this is.
We've been working on this. This has been like,
Finally.
yeah, 10 years.
We have wanted to do this for years.
Good luck on Tuesday, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We've been wanting to do this for a long time, but I think now the town is more interested in it. It was, but we changed it.
Okay, sorry. You guys already started the meeting for that, so I couldn't tell anybody. Okay, so does anybody have any questions about this?
My only question relates to do we need policies around access and control and whatever? Do we have existing policies that relate to it?
We have nothing that, on a P card, but I don't know if
We
a P
have-
card falls under any of our policies on purchasing, so I don't know the answer to
And I certainly don't wanna hold it up, but I just wanna make sure that we have policies behind the management and.
Well, we have, you know, our purchasing policies,
That's
which
what-
this would fall under. It's just another vehicle to use to purchase things. Like we have Staples cards, we have
Yeah, okay.
the Market Basket card.
Yeah,
And
Thinking
so
I'd
this
look at
is
the
just,
policies, looking
it's
at
a
that.
purchasing
It's
card.
just another Market Basket
Just
card.
another vehicle to purchase. We'd still require purchase orders
Mhm.
and, you know, everything would run the same
Paper the next
exact
day.
way. It's not, you know, we're gonna have strict
Thanks.
forms for anyone who takes the card out, like we have now, you know, they have to sign them out, they have to sign them back in, they have to have receipts, so it'll be the same.
So would this be like a sort of, like a general one that could be used at Staples or Market Basket? But
You could, but I mean, I think Julie already has those others set up, but we might move towards that because we get a rebate back from how much purchasing we do.
So just have one card for everything, just.
Maybe, I mean, she has several set up in some town, you know, vendors, so she might not wanna change them all. But, we did talk about what we would use it for. It's great for online purchasing
Right.
because,
Well, it's
It's almost like a PayPal type
a
thing.
silly thing, but when we needed to renew the SurveyMonkey account,
Yeah.
which expired and nobody realized it, there was an issue of somebody had to put up a credit
Credit card,
card.
cause they wouldn't take
Oh,
a
and they
purchase
get
order.
And they get
Reimbursed.
reimbursed, like,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
It should just
crazy.
be easy, and you can't
Easier.
use your Market Basket card on the SurveyMonkey website, strangely.
right.
Yeah.
So,
who knew?
who knew, exactly.
We'll start off small and we, you know, we've already discussed, you know, we'd have like a card for each school
And
and
it's
student
also-
activities.
Mike was saying with the end of the year adjustments and buying the stuff for the coffee shop, he was calling vendors and it had to be, can you deliver it by June 30th, which is the rule, but also can we follow the procurement rules because we couldn't pay by credit card, they had to accept a check. So he was saying he was limited on the vendors who would accept
Sure.
payment, like, to make it work in the last 2 weeks before the budget year ended. This would add a lot more flexibility.
Right.
And frankly, cheaper prices, because
Yeah.
he had to go with a vendor who could do it instead of the better price vendor in some cases.
Right. As I said, this is
Yeah,
something
it's-
we've really wanted to do for
Oh,
a long time, so. I'm happy to see that, and Suzanne talked with Mike Farrell about it, and that he was supportive of it.
Yeah, he's
I think
doing
he's-
his own.
I think he's doing his own,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the P card purchase, as recommended by Director of Finance and Operations, Suzanne Settle.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, revolving accounts. Got an update.
Thank you very much for this,
You're welcome.
well, I mean, it's, you know, been said that really the, kind of the most delicate, unhealthy part of our budget, is our revolving accounts, and I just think it's good, you know, financial stewardship to keep a close eye on if this is the most vulnerable part of our budget, to be watching this.
So my question on this
Michael,
one.
what would you like to know?
And this is a much easier one, I think. The original appropriation line, is that the carry forward?
let
I'm
me
sorry,
take
the
a,
original
Which,
appropriation
are you,
column.
are you looking at page
On any,
two?
let me just take a peek.
yeah,
Oh, on the, these things?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yes, that would be the carry forward,
okay,
and then the revised budget kinda line on the top is what the revenue would have been, because we, it technically had 2 years of revenue.
correct, yeah, okay.
Yep.
That's all I have.
That's all you have.
I told you it was a lot easier.
Do we have an update on the school choice numbers?
Yes, we do. We, have today 43.
That was the number we had.
We
this year.
had, gotten 10, but then one moved to town, so now we have 9.
So, but we
9
approved
new.
15.
You opened 15 and 6.
Yeah, so 21.
You opened
And
21.
So we got
we
9
only
out of
have
21.
9.
Wait a minute, so you said there's 43 school choice,
Well,
Oh,
that's
that's
total, that's
That's in total.
So the new ones for this year are 9?
9.
Okay, so that's gonna.
Do you remember
And
how that breaks down, Laura?
last year?
I think I have the thing, hold on.
I think, yeah,
Yeah.
So it was
I think
15.
the majority
We
were.
got,
I think we almost
um,
filled all the 6th grade, and I think we have quite a few
let's
open
see,
9th grade.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ninth graders, and
Which is a third of what we opened.
2, rest are 7th?
Yes, 6th, yeah, 7th or 6th? 7th, we opened in 7th, right. We had 6.
Who's the girl that didn't,
Okay, so we got 6 of them?
Wait, so you have 5 ninth graders and 4,
5 7th grade.
5 7th and 5 9th? Is that what you just said?
But didn't
That's
one,
10.
didn't one become a?
One moved to town.
so that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it's 9.
You
Yeah.
said this one moved to town.
She did.
So then it's 4 something and 5 something.
So, she was an old one, she
We'll get it
wasn't
for
one
you.
of the new ones, so, we still have 43. So we got 10, I'm sorry, I misspoke.
10.
We got 10, but
Out of 21.
Yeah, but one of the 4th graders moved into town that we already had, she was a choice student before.
Okay, so the total number dropped
Yeah,
to 43.
right,
But the ones that we opened for this school year, we opened 21, we have 10.
10, yes. Yep.
So, huh?
2 more
What?
when I did the spreadsheets for you today.
Oh, 2 more off
There's
of,
2
off
more.
of the 43 are gone?
I was just looking on.
There might have been a change
Okay,
today.
so I didn't have an
It-
update to that.
No.
So what, I guess my
I know what
question
thing
is.
is that
Second, what-
Very-
so just
I'm
wanna make sure she's
I'm-
trying to
I'm
let her
just
look at the
trying to
list.
see.
Laura's been studying the list.
We both have been studying.
I
this.
know.
You move in.
Alright,
Well,
so,
And I'm sure you don't know off
So
the top of your
so
head
a
how
5th
many
grader
budget.
left.
So that's 1
And what does that mean
So,
for the school choice budget, if we're,
well, we were hoping to, so we were looking at the money we were hoping
It's
to
just
bring
It's just
in was to cover NEASC, which was $25,000. So if you figure you get $5,000 a child, we knew we need to get 5, so we have that for the
Right.
NEASC expense. So now when you start looking at the total budget, like what do we carry
Yeah.
forward, what are our expenses versus what, what are we expecting to come in revenue, and what's that balance look like? So that's what I thought you were trying to do here, does this not? so-
Well, when you look here at school choice ended
Yeah,
FY
so let's
17
go
with
over this.
19,764.
Yes,
After we
Right.
moved 8690 in payroll expenses, so
Exactly.
to me, it's 19,000 minus 8690.
correct. So there are 4 continuing
Yeah.
pays, cause we had some money we had to pay out over the summer.
Right.
let me ask, cause at some point in the spring, and I don't remember when, school choice was gonna have like $1,000 left, or like
Exactly.
$100 left or something. What
Right.
what happened to get that up to 10,000? I mean, it's great, but
Well, I
that's
had,
a surprising.
I had moved the 8690, and then I believe our final payment in June was higher than I had expected. Mhm.
Okay, okay,
Because they make that adjustment.
right.
So that's
With the
where,
state.
if you follow that trend,
Oh,
that's
we
where,
were saying 15, okay.
that's where it says continuing pay after in the July balance, so the
But
balance
really-
is 12,000.
So really the balance is 4.
But really, our continuing pays were more. They were the 23,040 for the summer. So, but we had gotten a receipt in July for 15, so that helped us. Do you know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah, what would we have done if we didn't get that
Exactly.
I know.
receipt in July?
Well, we knew we were
We
getting
knew
it.
we'd get one, but it's always, it's not always the number we expect. For some
Well,
reason, I don't know
No,
why
I
that is.
spoke to the guy at Desi, and he explained to me that what they do is they carry over into the next year the number of kids that you have. So then in December, they look at our October 1 enrollment, and that's when they adjust for what they see in the student, data. But then we have to file a claim in April. So when we file the claim in April is when they make their adjustment
for
in
June.
June.
Okay.
So it's really kind of like they carry forward the kids that you have from one year to the next.
So things could change
Right.
in that space.
So now if, and this might just be a silly question, if it's $5,000 per choice student, how do we get a payment of $15,534?
I think it's if we have a special ed student
There is,
and they
there
get
is a,
services.
there is
Oh,
an
there's
adjustment
a
for
difference.
special
Yeah.
education.
Okay, that makes
It's
sense.
cheaper.
No, it's
No,
more.
it's more.
You can,
I would-
Yeah.
We get more
charge
money.
more, you
more.
can be assessed more. But the average kid that doesn't
Is
have
right.
Yeah.
And so do they, because we had a couple of students leave mid-year
Yeah, so
this
then
year,
they'll adjust.
is it like essentially like a per diem rate or something like, if the student's here for September, do we get 1/10 of the full year? Yeah, is it a prorated?
Yeah, it's definitely prorated.
Okay.
That's why we have to file the claim, and then that's why they
In
adjust in
April,
look
if
June.
the number is
back, yeah.
different, they give
Yeah.
you only
Okay.
that amount of
So
money
it's
for
kind of
that.
hard to project
It's
how
not-
they're
it's-
going
yeah.
to,
Right.
give us the
And,
money.
and then there is a relationship to the per pupil expenditures
Mhm.
of the various districts. It won't exceed 5,000, but it does have something to do with your per pupil expenditure in terms of what you get. So
Okay.
there, right, so
So do we actually get 5 per?
generally, in the average, it's 5.
Can it be less? So it's less
Yeah, I guess-
sometimes?
I don't think.
I guess I'm
I
worried that
don't
we're
think it's
budgeting
less.
5 when the reality is that
No, I
it's-
mean,
No.
I have the sheet
She-
from
she's
them,
got the-
and they
she's-
have 5,000 for
Okay.
Right.
all the
Because it doesn't matter
on
where
this
they're
sheet.
coming from. It's not corrected by the per pupil where they're coming from to coming here, or?
Like, for instance, this one child left on 215, so we only got 2850 for
So
him.
they do prorate it.
So they do adjust it.
Okay.
I always learned that it was 5 that was the max, but I always do remember them talking about, there is some, and I'd have to do more
Yeah.
research on it, some relationship to per pupil expenditures. Because that's kinda why some places don't pay. I know it's around that where charter schools are considered. 'Cause charter school
Oh,
tuitions
right.
vary
Right.
based on where the kid's coming from and the
Right.
per pupil expenditures of that town.
Okay.
So school choice is something we just, like Pam said, we just keep watching.
Yeah,
and
I
keep
guess I'm
reporting
just,
on it,
if
yeah.
we're,
And we had taken some salaries.
if we're
off.
11 or 12 students short of where we, because I know we budgeted to make the account a little bit more healthy overall, but it was still a pretty tight budget.
Right,
Losing 12 students that we wanted to get that we didn't was $60,000.
We did move a couple of salaries, and we also originally had that science curriculum in there.
but were we,
Oh, which we paid for at the end of the year.
what I'm wondering though is,
Perhaps
when we
with
were
these.
thinking
It's
about,
still close.
when we were thinking
Yeah.
about our expenses though,
Was that with the extra money?
we weren't necessarily basing that on getting those 21 kids, were we?
We were.
Oh, we were.
Yeah,
I
we
don't,
were.
I didn't think we
Well,
were, 'cause-
but we were trying to build up the fund.
The
yeah,
reserve.
I thought that
Yeah,
we
I
were
mean,
trying
it
to
wasn't gonna be
create,
close if we got the 21, we
Yeah.
would've had some money
right,
left
and I knew
over.
we were trying to use the 5 students for NEASC.
Right.
Yeah,
But that wasn't, my understanding wasn't it was like a 1-to-1 match, that there was definitely.
No, we
trying
were
to
definitely
build-
building some, but
Yeah.
if we're pulling 60 out, I would venture to guess without looking at the budget book that that's a lot of.
So what we'll do is, that budget page that we do, we'll just adjust that, right? So we'll look at it, it'll say,
Just a
this is the, current balance, but this is what we're expecting for revenue, this is what we're, wanna take out, and then we'll see where we are.
And how often does someone who we count on as choice move to town? Does that happen often?
I would say that does not happen frequently.
Cause
But
that, you
but
can get
I won't say it
blindsided.
just, I won't say it
all of a
never
sudden.
happens, but
Right.
it doesn't happen.
Less than once a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of times people,
There aren't many
you know,
instances,
who live in town and move out, wanna take a school choice slot if they can, but
Right.
it usually goes that way,
And
not
that's
the,
fine.
yeah. Usually goes that way, not the other way.
So, we didn't have any, we didn't open any slots in 11th grade, right?
We didn't.
No.
We didn't. We have had a couple of requests for 11th grade.
Okay, so the athletic revolving account is just, to go back to the
Yeah.
volleyball update, which I
Yes.
really hope we get a
Coach.
coach, for many reasons, because I know the program, is popular, the kids really enjoyed it, and
They have
I
to make
know
cuts.
that there are kids out there like every day waiting, to see if we get somebody, but the other concern of mine is if we don't get, a volleyball coach, then we don't get the user fees.
No.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's about how many,
I don't know, there's
don't know how
varsity and
many
JV, there were a lot of kids today, and there were kids who were still on vacation who weren't there today.
That would probably be
we're
there's-
looking at like
significant.
35
There's easily,
kids.
I'm thinking you're talking about 35 kids. Right, that, good, that's a very good point, Barbie.
So,
I mean, you also there won't be expenses for
yeah,
buses
coach,
and,
so
and, you know, coaches and, transportation coaches.
because that wasn't a co-op,
That is a co-op, that is a
Okay,
co-op,
so-
co-op with
with who?
Pentucket.
it's a co-op with Pentucket,
where
so
that's it.
Pentucket wasn't, it's Essex Tech that pays the transportation for field hockey.
field hockey, yeah.
So, okay, so we weren't getting any,
Right.
other than the user fees.
Correct.
From Pentucket
Yeah.
kids, okay.
Yeah, so we'll have to see how that
Yeah, I
balances
know.
out for sure, yeah.
Is that something that Pentucket is also working on, is
It
looking
is,
for
it
a
is,
coach?
yep, guys got Pentucket athletic directors doing the same thing, working on, cause they don't wanna see
Sure.
it not happen either, so they're working their networks to see. Yeah, we have our fingers crossed on that, because it is, like Barbie said, it's very popular.
Yeah.
I mean, when we started a few years
It's
ago.
like what, 35 students, Barbie?
At least, I mean, there were a lot of
Between
girls there
JV
today in JV and
and
varsity.
varsity.
Well, I don't know, volleyball, how many kids play, nine or 10 at a time, I think. I don't know, so, you know, if you have,
Even if we had 15.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
We'd have
right, I think.
at least 15
yeah,
per team,
Per team, right.
that's what I'm
At
thinking,
least.
yeah.
so, yeah, so that's why I
Right.
think.
Yeah.
So it is a lot of
That
kids.
is-
Yeah, it's not like we're struggling to have our own team, but I did ask Guy how many of those kids that are like sort of were, cause I went up there today, and, how many of those kids are Pentucket kids? You know, like, was it, and he said about eight or 9. So most of them are girls. So, yeah, we're gonna have to watch, you know, watch that account.
Well, anyone out there listening tonight,
Mhm.
if you know of anybody, you know, contact.
Volleyball coach, yeah.
Yeah, volleyball coach.
Enthusiast.
I mean, I do think
Jump right
that,
in.
you know, budget and finance, you know, we're gonna have to, you know, really talk about a sustainable strategy. You know, because we have to, the secret is, I mean, Guy and I talked about this, there's generally 600 athletes, you know, across the board. Now, they're not all, sometimes they're duplicates, but they're, you know, and it almost always costs us, no matter what year it is, $300,000. You figure we have about $100,000 between choice and the budget right now. So if our goal, you know, we're gonna have to figure out a strategy. So if we were to say, all right, we bite the bullet, every budget cycle for the next 5 years, we put in $15,000 in the budget. You know, that builds up. I mean, I don't know another strategy, so I think we're gonna have to talk about that. If we're not gonna increase the fees, then we do need to get more money in the budget. And someday, if we get an override, that might be another way to infuse, you know, a little bit of money, like we did the last time. That went a long way for a long time.
Well, I think the next meeting that we have, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's plenty of things to talk about, but I do think we need to figure something out.
Yeah. And then we can look at things like, you know, like we did with food service, if we compartmentalize, here are the things, why I asked you last time, like, what are your biggest issues with athletics? And certainly the issue around funding is a big issue. So how do we wanna attack that? So is it, you know, money in the budget, this is what we do on that. Is it other sources of revenue? So, you know, do we pursue You know, I know, I've talked to Guy and Ryan about the idea of, when we talked about it here, you know, some big athletic event, you know, that could go into that
Road
account.
race or something
You know, something like that, you know, and so if you did that on a regular basis, you know, again, it offsets.
Right.
Right now, I mean, we literally are 95% user fee funded, I mean, in many ways. We're totally dependent on it, so, if we can take a little pressure off by coming up with a few other strategies, then that certainly will help. So yeah, let's put that on the agenda, we can talk about that.
Okay. Thank you for giving, this to us. I like
Yes.
the way,
Yeah.
do you guys like the way,
Yeah.
I like the setup of it.
yes, yeah.
It's not as number oriented, it's kind
Yeah,
of
right.
narrative, the
Right,
narrative
but
helps.
it breaks
yeah.
it down a little bit. Mike, this is the
I
numbers,
look at the
Michael.
numbers and I'm like, okay,
Narrative
you
helps
can
a
dummy
little.
it out, I can't really,
Yeah,
and
I
you
think we
can.
could have this on a monthly basis.
Sure,
Is that-
yeah, sure.
Especially with everything going on.
Okay, thank you, Suzanne, for that. Okay, and, we have, a donation to accept. We have, the PTA has generously donated, $600 for makerspace items. And is that going all to
Pearlie.
Pearlie?
I mean, sorry,
No, Pembroke.
Pembroke. Yes, she's going to buy additional storage bins, because you saw how much stuff she has.
Yep.
And she's going to purchase the filament for the 3D printer, because we have
Okay.
3D printers in both schools. And they are also going to help purchase 2 additional sewing machines.
Oh, that's wonderful, that's very nice of them. They're always generous.
They are.
It just seems like there's more money coming in, and that's why people need to go to their auction
Yes,
in November, right? Do we have?
Yes.
yes, November 18th. I don't wanna switch subjects,
No,
but, but I know even this week, there was a group,
A big painting day.
a big painting day, working on some of the decorations.
Oh,
and
really?
things like
I didn't know
that.
that.
All summer, there's been quite a few people soliciting donations for the auction. So there's lots of work going on.
Yeah, that's great, it's a huge event. Do you know where they're having it?
They're having it at DeBurrows.
Burrows, which is
right.
great,
That's
that's
great.
great.
I wanted to
Nice,
try
and they
that this
tried to
year.
have it at the Black Swan, but there were no dates available.
Wow. Well, that's great, the Burrows will be nice. Yeah, different.
Yeah, it'll be very nice.
But this is a very generous donation, for the makerspace, so I will make a motion to approve the PTA donation in the amount of $600 to be used for makerspace items at Pembroke.
So moved.
Second.
Third.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, aye.
What's the
No,
matter?
No, just because you said Pembroke and there was filament, it's not all just gonna be used at Pembroke. It doesn't matter.
Oh, is it not? Is it the 3D?
Well, that was my
printer?
understanding, is that Mary Ann,
Right.
we were making the request on behalf of Mary Ann, it was gonna be for her.
Oh, it sounded like okay.
But I
Yeah,
think
the
Liz
3D
had
printer
another
is-
plan,
Yeah.
but
You said both, it doesn't matter. It's
They
not a
already
big-
have the filament at the middle high school.
Okay.
I think so.
That's
but-
what she seemed to say.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Perfect, that's awesome.
Yes, thank you very much. And Mary Ann will go to Walmart tomorrow and purchase the things she needs.
Awesome, that's great. Okay, I think we are finished with the agenda. So, there is a need for an executive session, so at this time I will make a motion to adjourn the open meeting, go into executive session. We will not be returning to, televised open meeting. Executive session, chapter 30A, section 21, to discuss a personnel matter.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Roll call.
Aye.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Aye.
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 Thank you, good night, good luck on your first day of school, everybody.